Riders of Theoden! Spears shall be shaken! Shields shall be splintered! A sword day! A red day! And the sun rises!
EWBSX, the cyberbully. Never surrender.
The ASTROLABE.
Time to end this suffering. I need a minute to myself. So I drift away. You will never get to me. What can't be done, I'll do myself. So
We're gonna win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're gonna win more.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the ASTROLABE. Brought to you by King Pilled. How you guys doing? It is Thursday evening, and I've got a potentially very long show. We'll see just how many long-form things we want to read back to back to back toward the back end of the show. But it should be a good one. We should have a little bit of fun, and we get to talk about BLUMPF betraying us once again. Yeah, where is everyone? Maybe this is what happens when I go late. I start late a couple in a row, and then I start a little earlier again. I'm actually starting later than I wanted to. Yeah, we got some stuff about Super Bowl commercials. We had a great conversation last night in the King Pill Discord. We had the voice chat, the Wednesday night voice chats in the King Pill Discord. And we spent a while just sort of trying to imagine how drastically different the future is going to be, even just within 5 years or so, given the advent of self-driving cars and then these automated AI agents and the Claude bot thing. Once you start combining some of these things together, it's the changes in lifestyle are going to be dramatic. There's going to be a sudden massive expansion of the time and resources that people have at their disposal to direct toward whatever they want. Cost of living is going to plummet for some people. Now there will be certain people who are caught off guard by it. Who it's when you get some sort of massive, dramatic new thing introduced into society, some people benefit from it, and some people don't. But there's going to be the opportunity for a lot of people to benefit in substantial ways, but it's going to require a forward-looking trajectory, a commitment to building and directing one's efforts intentionally. And for people who choose that lifestyle, there's going to be some insane changes. If you just imagine, and the Optimus, that was the other thing too, the Optimus, the introduction of the Optimus robots, which they're going into production. We've talked about this as like, oh, pretty soon there'll be like mass production of robots and whatever. But no, like they're going into production now. Elon shut down 2 different production lines of Teslas so that he can start producing the Optimus robot. And if you think about having like an Optimus robot on a car payment, so you have it's $50,000, like a mid-tier car payment, and except this is not just purely an expense. If you know what to do with it, you know how to use it, and you're able to build your life around it, then you could introduce this thing, and it could become either a source of revenue or a massive expense reduction and time freeing up for you. So for forward-thinking, proactive, high-agency people, the ability to have, no matter how much it meets the expectations right at first, there's lots of ways in which it can be kind of like, it doesn't work exactly the way you'd want it to, but it gets you by and it offers this thing that was completely unheard of before, which is kind of the way that a Tesla was. It's not like this company doesn't have experience bringing an extremely unique, one-of-a-kind form factor and technology vertical to market and successfully reproducing it. So Tesla will probably, when they release them, they will lease them out to you. Like they can do all the financing themselves, lease them out to you directly. And what it might be, depending on your credit or down payment or all these other the financing terms, it might be maybe $700 to $1,200 a month to have one. Imagine having one and just figure out some sort of like easy sandboxed automated activity that you could put it into, recognizing its current limitations. How can you begin automating its activity in some sort of sandboxed way where it either is saving you money or making you money? Ideally, it's doing both. But you could have your own little, a 3D printer, little automated supply line running out of your garage where you're selling some sort of 3D printed part, and the Optimus is just managing the like packaging and prepping, labeling, prepping for delivery. And then you introduce the self-driving vehicle. So the Optimus could like manage all the operations inside the garage with the 3D printing and the packaging and the trimming and like all the stuff that has to be done to it, and then load it into your self-driving vehicle. Your self-driving vehicle could drive itself to the post office, deliver all of the things, which are received by a robot that's there who has the limited, just all I do is I receive these and ensure that they get deposited in this way. Like, this is the sort of automation that we're beginning to arrive upon having the capacity to do. So you could run an entire like drop shipping business or even like your own fabrication business out of your house, semi-automated. Instead of having to go hire a bunch of employees and all this sort of thing, you can just have an Optimus that just manages all the stuff. Can you make more than $1,000 a month with something like that? You're talking about setting the bar really, really, really low. And then there's security. Like your Optimus can be your watchdog basically all night. And you could limit whatever sort of abilities or whatever you want to give it. You have some way that it alerts you where it can't come up physically close to you or something. Of course, there's going to be some sort of mistakes or errors or damages or all these sorts of things, just like there is with any other piece of machinery. But it's going to be, Jeff Accordion, knowing Elon, they're going to come equipped with flashlights. Well, they do not have mouths, and there's probably a reason for that. I think it cuts down a little bit on the uncanny valley aspect of it as well, not having mouths. But this is becoming a very real thing. Now, in the same way that there's people who struggle to afford a car, there's going to be people who struggle to afford an Optimus, and they're not going to have the Optimus. But that doesn't mean they're not going to experience the efficiency and productivity gains of Optimuses being distributed out everywhere else. This is going to be a turbo booster on the fact that this is like the hardware side of things that's hitting the market at the same time that you're starting to get with like the Claude thing. AI agents themselves are starting to reach the level where they can perform a lot of really vast, complex activities in an automated format. And you start thinking about joining those two and having essentially a slave class. You've created a slave class of automated robots. This is not super far off science fiction stuff. This is like, we're going to make drastic progress in this direction over the next 5 years. These are going to be mass produced. Once upon a time, it was like, oh, I never seen an electric car before. It was like really weird. You'd see was it a Honda Insight or something? You'd like see one of them, and then you got the Prius, and then you kind of got used to seeing an electric car from that.
Welcome to the Gulag.
And then you
if
get
you survive, you
the
earn
Teslas.
your freedom.
Bobby Ballbags, what a patriot with 10 gifted subs over on Kick. Welcome to Kamakuzi, No Turpa, a whole bunch of Star Wars names. Kimberly 101. Jenny 90. Oh, we're getting the Foids in here. More Star Wars names. There's Baja. It's hard to read this. Oh, Baja Be Thy Blast. I was like, Bethy? Baja Be Thy Blast. Mr. Sue, Golden Doodle, and Helio M. Pereira. Thank you, Bobby Ballbags, for all the gifted subs. You, sir, are a patriot. And also thank you to Clouded Sensorium for resubscribing. And thank you as well to Pale Morning Dude, Screwed Up Nevsky, Pale Morning Dude, for the kicks. Before we get started here, that was the stuff that we were discussing last night on in the King Pilled voice chat, among many other things. We had a long conversation about Orthodox liturgies. I'm trying to remember what else we talked about. Every once in a while, there's like a really long pause. You just wait until someone brings something else up, and sometimes it gets heated and everyone starts arguing, and then other times it's oops, hold on. I muted the alerts because the all of the gifted subs were going to play in a row, and the gifted sub notification is way too intrusive for that. If I'm going to do something like that, I need to have a way less intrusive gifted sub thing. But we just got a tip that just came in, and why can I not access this button? What has changed? Curious. Oh, there we go.
But what if I hire our guys for 50K? Robots can't buy my product. Henry Ford is spinning in his grave. Slave societies stagnate and lose. I think superhumans are the real way forward. Mentats are the future. Send me your kids to abuse/train. HH.
Thank you to Backwards Looking Low Agency. Backwards Looking Low Agency. That's great. Yeah, no, if you can hire our guys, yeah, definitely go hire our guys. But yeah, I don't see a lot of our guys who are lining up to do a job like labeling up your boxes and running them back and forth to the post office. If those guys are out there, then great. I don't really see people who are lining up wanting to do something like that. So there's a certain point at which you could sit around and you could just be like, nope, I'm on principle only going to hire our guys. I'm not going to use automation in any way. But then like, okay, where are you going to draw this line? What is using the internet? Is that, you need to go out and like manually consult with guys and pay them for their opinion instead of researching something on the internet? So there's a line, and that line is blurry. But the way I see this is that those guys who could be hired to do that for 50K, instead they can figure out a way to get one of those and then do the whole business themselves. It's like it moves everyone up a layer. So now the guy, instead of having to go try to get a job, and he's gonna have to go like do delivery stuff for some other guy, now he could just start the business himself. He could just do the business. And maybe what it is the guy creates buys a fleet of Teslas and figures out someone who will fund this for him or whatever, gets a fleet of Teslas with Optimuses, and has them leased and has them. It has a service that he offers for people who are running little businesses out of their backyards or whatever the thing is. Major like factories or whatever could use the same sort of service. And now it's kind of like you can be a DoorDash driver, except you can be 5 DoorDash drivers at one time, or 10, or however many you want. This will be a whole new industry that can crop up, that a guy can scale his way up into using these new tools. So there's going to be all kinds of crazy stuff that happens, and the real thing is that this is not some pie in the sky, maybe, might, could, possibly happen someday. No, it's like actively happening right now. So anyways, today is a very special day. Today is the 10-year anniversary of my wife and I becoming officially a thing. It moved real fast. Like once we met each other, once we started talking to each other, it was just like, yeah. At one point, she had to sit me down and be like, "Look, are you into this or not?" And I was like, yes. And then from then on forward, it just, and we have been together now 10 years, formally, officially. We have been married because we did not get married right away, much to my shame. I did not marry her immediately. But we've been married now for this year. It will be 8 years. Backwards looking low agency.
A lot of our guys are not capable of doing much more. All slopes are slippery. Plus, our guys are literally in the business of being paid for shit we could Google if we had the time. The G's for 5 DoorDash drivers and 1 already. Import more illegals.
No, they're going to be legal, you see. A lot of our guys are not capable of doing much more. Yeah, that's true. That was actually one of the other things we were talking about yesterday, that there's going to have to be some sort of they're going to back themselves inevitably into some sort of UBI of some type. There is going to be a UBI. There's going to be an expansive social safety net, and it's going to come with trade-offs. That's kind of like the inevitable trajectory of this is you can be on the social safety net. You can have the housing or whatever, and you're given some sort of menial job that you're effectively being overpaid for your job, but it keeps you busy. It gives you some meaning. It gives you, it's not like the smartest economic decision, but all variables taken in consideration, it is a prudent decision to make. And, so perhaps those people they don't get to vote. They forfeit the franchise for whatever duration they're on using this sort of public service that's being provided. That's what factory production lines are for. Yeah. And so then in theory, like those could be those people. But here's the thing is like, you're saying, well, no, they're taking those jobs they're taking those menial jobs that the menial people could do. And invariably what happens is every single time this comes up, those menial jobs being filled by some kind of technology or automation creates a whole new class of other menial jobs for people. So there's going to be new menial jobs that are created, and on net we can get both. We can get this job is filled, this job is satisfied, this production is being filled, and now we can add this other production on as well while still giving meaning to the individual people. Anyways, so that was the discussion last night. Please do, in honor of our anniversary today, let's say the Make More Ericssons Fund. Make More Ericssons Fund. Get the tips link in here. And then we are going to take off Universal Basic Income. Slutty Milk is here. He comes in with a bang. Universal Basic Income. Okay. So let's see. What are we starting off with? Oh, I got a couple of things about accents. Where are my accent appreciators out here? This guy says, seems like a good day to re-up the South Carolina historical treasure from a former senator from Clarendon. about liquor. Called it the oil of conversation. And Adam Garinger here said, rare accent. Never heard this in North Carolina. Might be a generational thing or a South Carolina thing. I don't want to see these accents die. How do we keep these accents alive? Or is this just a thing that we have to accept, that many accents have died and many accents will die, and that's just part of humanity, I guess?
I was out of the chamber a minute ago when y'all voted on that matter dealing with alcohol. And as I came up the steps, someone asked me if I had walked on that vote.
Here comes the money.
Oh!
Here we go.
And all of you that
Here comes
Alpha male alert!
Dollar, 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 dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling, cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter.
More Ericssons.
Thank you, Howie Snowden. Howie Snowden, the Patriot, with the $100 tip. Thank you, my friend. That is a great contribution to the Make More Ericssons Fund. We're at 3. That's really small. I need to make that bigger. Hold on. I made it smaller for the. Where is it here? I made it smaller for the Pseudowave, but I can't even read it. There we go. Okay, so we're at 386.76. I do expect that $4,000 is going to be tough to reach this month, but I'm going to put the number out there anyways. It's a short month, so it is what it is. But thank you to everyone who contributes. Tips.kingpill.com. If you send something through there, I still have not been able to figure out what it is. I haven't been able to find a commonality behind what's making the automation not trigger. So if you don't get the automation, if something doesn't play, don't worry. It is the money is actually going through. It's just not playing. So just let me know. Let me know if it doesn't come through, and I'll go find it and I'll read it, and then I'll reward you with soundboard sounds. John C. Land III is the most Anglo name ever. No kidding. Absolutely. John C. Land III. I wonder what C stands for. I think I saw. I went down a little rabbit hole reading about him, and I think he's a direct descendant of John C. Calhoun. I wasn't able to confirm that was 100% the case, but I saw people who were confidently declaring it to be the case. And it makes sense to me.
that have known me in my near 40 years of service here have known I have never walked, I have never sidestepped an issue, have never
I think H-Dog would disagree with the Jewish science of automation. He went full Fordist economy and crushed the sinister Red Sea devils rotting out the nation. Of course, we are making a false total substitution. Laziest month of the year, go figure.
Yeah, I think he probably would disagree. And I mean, frankly, I think number one, it would be kind of a performative disagreement. Number two, it would be like a performatively incoherent disagreement. And number two, he just didn't get everything right. Sometimes I just don't agree with him. I still love my Uncle Hortler, even if I don't agree with him. Yeah, laziest month of the year. Thank you, sir.
tried to walk both sides of the street. I come down squarely on one side or the other of every issue. And I was asked out there, what was my stand on liquor?
Liquor!
And I want y'all to know that when you say liquor, if you mean the devil's brew, the poisonous scourge, the bloody monster that defies innocence, dethrones reason, destroys the home, creates misery and poverty, yes, literally takes the bread from the mouths of children, I'm against it. Now, on the other hand, if you are talking about liquor, the oil of conversation, the philosophic wine, the ale that is consumed when good fellas get together over dinner, that puts a song in their hearts and a spring in the old man's step on a cold morning. If you mean the drink that enables a man to magnify his joy and headaches and sorrows, if you mean the drink the sale of which pours millions into our treasury to help the little crippled children, to help our blind, the deaf, and the dumb, to build highways and hospitals, then certainly I'm for it. Now, I have given you my stand, and I clearly come down on that issue in that fashion, and I want all of you to know that. Now, that was given down in Mississippi some many years ago, 1952.
Senator Cherokee, what purpose do you have?
I do not request that the senator from Clarence's remarks be placed in.
All right. Thank you.
This was 2011. This clip was from 2011. It is surreal. Completely surreal. This is the South Carolina legislature, the state legislature. And it's interesting because in watching that, I feel like I'm being transported back 100 years and seeing what the like English parliamentary tradition is like, particularly in the American fashion, because there's in many ways it's similar to clips you'll see from British Parliament, but you see the good old boys who are running the legislature, and their view of their own posture with respect to the rest of society. There's something that's very wholesome and good and redeemable about the parliamentary system and the having these like legislative bodies that come together and they have formal meetings to debate these sort of matters out. Like, there's something that is wholesome and redeemable in that. Now, speaking of liquor, I was told by Mr. Ian Carroll. Ian Carroll is the not the gay one that is in all the conspiracy theories and everything, but the one that we have in the King Pill Discord. He informed us the other day that there is a glorious combination. He said it's basically, if I remember right, I think he called it Chud Juice or Patriot Juice, something like that. And the combination is Buffalo Trace and Mountain Dew. So, I'm going to give this a shot. We're going to see how this is. Have any of you guys ever had this before? Some people were like, that blew my mind. Some people were like, oh yeah, that's this sort of drink. Is this something that you guys have been, there's more than a shot in there. Is that something that you guys are familiar with? It's kind of orange. Like my president. Look at this. Patriot Juice. Let's give it a shot. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's good. That's really good. That is really, really good. Phenomenal. Patriot Juice. Or Chud Juice. I don't know. Which one do you guys like better? Patriot Juice or Chud Juice? Mountain Dew mixed with Buffalo Trace. That is tremendous. I mean, I realize it's got a little bit of white girl to it, but I don't know. There's it feels like this is a corollary to the rule about white girl songs. There's some sort of corollary here that when your white girl drink is made with Mountain Dew, it automatically is qualifies as a a chud jug. Yeah. Raymond Harmon. You win the day. You win the day. You earned one of these. Oh, my wife says Matt will drink one of those for every $100 sent in tonight until he passes out or pukes. Happy anniversary. Not every $100. I'll drink one for every, let's say every two. We're at 400 right now. I will drink one of these for every $200 that comes through. You will, I will perform for you, but you got to buy it. One for every $200. And I guess I can't. It's a little late to prove about, but there was probably about 2 shots or so in there, 2.5 shots. So every $200, starting now, every $200, I'm drinking the first one. So if we get to $600, then I will drink another one. Okay, so there's the Southern accent. Now listen to this accent here. This is the moment President Trump informed the Aulis family that Staff Sergeant Michael Aulis would posthumously receive the Medal of Honor. This is a guy who, I can't remember where it was, but there was a diplomat who was there with him, and there was some sort of an explosion, and he threw himself over the guy and was killed. This happened in 2013. So Trump is informing the family that he's going to receive the Medal of Honor. The video is a little, it's charming, it's adorable, it's a little awkward, just fair warning, but Oilfield Rando said, I love their accents so much. I have a brutal, slurry Southern twang, and sometimes I just love hearing this Yankee accent from sweet old-timers.
Speaker, don't forget.
Hello?
Hi, is this Mr. Aulis?
Speaking.
Hi, this is Chamberlain from President Trump's office. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I am the president calling for you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
One moment. Of course.
Robert and Linda?
Hi, Mr. President.
Hi, Mr. President. How are you?
Well, how are you both, okay?
We're nervous.
We're very nervous.
I know. You should be, because your son is going to get the highest honor that you can have. There's no higher honor than the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Oh,
well,
he's going to get it, and Michael is going to be, he's looking down at you right now.
Aw.
And he's saying, well, my mom and dad are handling this pretty well, right?
Oh, I hope so. Thank you so much,
gosh.
President, Mr. President. You have no idea the happiness we have.
Thank you for facilitating this. This is so wonderful of you. We are so thrilled because we've been working on it for so long and spoke to so many people, but you made it happen.
Good, yeah, we made it. So you let people know about your boy, right? It's what you did, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Otherwise, how are we going to know, right? You know, people don't know.
Right.
So I think that's fantastic.
And
you did a good job, and he did an even better job, right? And you're going to come to the White House soon. They'll work it out, and we're going to have a ceremony for a few of them, and all brave people. But I read what your son did, and it's. I wouldn't do it, Linda. I wouldn't do it, okay?
I'm not brave enough either.
Neither am I. Even though I'm a Vietnam vet, I still wouldn't have done it.
No.
Yeah.
He's a beautiful looking guy, too. I have a picture.
Aw, thank you.
I just read his story.
Thank you.
I will see you in the White House soon.
Oh,
Yes! We're going to the White House! We love you! We're playing for you every day! Yes! Let's do this! MAGA!
That's beautiful.
Yes!
Bring them all down. Hey, Robert and Linda, bring them all down.
Okay.
I certainly will.
We will.
I certainly will.
Yes.
Shut up, bitch!
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And your boy is proud of you. Have a good time. I'll see you at the White House.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay,
Can't
thank you
wait.
for the call.
Thank you for the call.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Oh, my president just absolutely made their day. The old Yankee accent, the old Southerner accent. There's just I don't want to see these accents go away. We got to keep them around. Okay, so I was sitting here while that was playing. Heyo!
I'm doing my part. Hitler would have wanted this to happen. Auf der Heidi Blut ein kleines Blümlein clap 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 und das heißt clap 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 Herga. Clap clap clap. Having too many kids while supported by government welfare? Two can play the game, Jeet.
That's right, Jeets. That's right. You got to get out. You got to get out. There's this game is going to get monopolized here. Thank you to Backwards Looking Low Agency for the 1488. And then we've got a Jeff here. Says, I've got nothing. Here's some money. 1488. No idea why it didn't go through. And then Planet Retard here. Dave Johnson says that... well, here, hold on just a sec. Just a sec. Before I give you the Dave Johnson one, let me play the... let me give an alert. Give an alert here to Jeff. We'll just have to play the last one.
I'm doing my part. Hitler would have wanted this to happen. Auf der Heidi Blut ein kleines Blümlein clap 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 und das heißt clap 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 Herga. Clap clap clap. Having too many kids while supported by government welfare? Two can play the game, Jeet.
Here comes the money.
Alpha Male Alert!
Money.
Dave Johnson!
Here comes the money.
Dollar, 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 dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling, cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter.
More Ericksons.
So that was Howie's alert played over again. What Dave said was root for the Patriots, and you can get $1,488. Dave, to that proposition, I say...
You know, Dave Johnson is the gayest person to ever walk this green earth.
Here is the biggest, gayest man in the world.
Wow. So gay. So gay. Okay.
That is a rejection. I will not be rooting for the Patriots. Although I do have a reference to the Patriots in here, coming in just a moment. Speaking of the Congressional Medal of Honor, real Donald Trump has just informed my friend, constituent, and 100-year-old hero, Royce Williams, that he will be receiving the Congressional Medal of Honor. This is a different guy. I call Royce the secret soldier of the forgotten war, and his exploits as a jet pilot taking on Soviet MiGs over the South China Sea in 1952 are a timeless story of indomitable courage that every American should know. Look at this patriot. Very clearly a different guy. Very clearly not the son of the last couple. 100 years old. Here is his exploits. In 1952, then Lieutenant Williams was serving with VF 781 aboard the USS Oroscanius, part of Task Force 77. On 18 November 1952, on his second mission of the day while on combat air patrol near Hworyong, North Korea, his group of 4 pilots spotted 7 MiG-15s overhead. The other 3 pilots had to return to the carrier, and the MiGs began to fire on Williams, putting him into a one-man dogfight with 7 MiG-15s that lasted 35 minutes. It's believed to be the longest dogfight in U.S. Navy history. Commanders on his carrier ordered him away, but Williams had to tell them that he was already fighting for his life. He shot down 4 of the MiGs and likely hit 2 others. By the end of the 35-minute period, only one of the MiGs was still in the air with him, and he managed to escape back to his carrier, out of ammunition and having lost his hydraulics. He was uninjured, but 263 holes were counted in his Panther jet. This old dude. That's an American right there. Holy crap. Okay, so this is a funny little anecdote. Yesterday was announced, or I think maybe it was the day before, that WAPO is laying off like a huge number of their journalists. And I've had to kind of keep up with the Super Bowl coverage, so I've gone over to my sports ball account, and invariably when I'm over there, I'm seeing baseball and football and soccer fans who are all just total normie shitlibs, and they are horrified. They are as demoralized as they've ever been. They cannot stomach the idea that the legendary WAPO just laid off a bunch of journalists. One lady posted she's like doing the wartime journalism thing over on the front lines in Ukraine, and was just cut loose. She's in Ukraine. She's going to have to figure out her way home. Just got slashed. So the libs are busy taking a huge one on the chin. And right at the same time, Oilfield Random says, best part of WAPO layoffs is them having to go out watching an anon right-wing shit poster get $1 million for writing an article. This was the $1 million article contest put on by X. Today, we're announcing the winner of the $1 million prize, plus the honorable mentions. Over the last couple of weeks, tens of thousands of creators published original articles that informed, challenged, and shaped conversations across X. We're grateful for the effort that went into every submission, and we worked carefully behind the scenes to protect the integrity of the contest by auditing the authenticity of each submission. The grand prize, the top article by U.S. verified home timeline impressions, was written by Beavered, at Beavered. That's like Beaver D. The article examines the role of a major government consulting firm in federal and state IT systems, analyzing contract data, audits, and documented system failures. Congratulations, you're a millionaire. It was a Milady poster. Deloitte, a $74 billion cancer metastasized across America. You were never meant to hear the name Deloitte, and you were never meant to know that the government has wasted $74 billion by working with them. 48 million impressions. The runner-up. The quality of submissions made it clear we couldn't recognize just one. The runner-up by verified home timeline impressions is Kobayashi Letter, who provided a real-time breakdown of global tariffs and geopolitical trade shifts, helping millions contextualize the market volatility. We're awarding $500,000. That was for an article, President Trump's Exact Tariff Playbook, a step-by-step guide. This first guy here, this Milady poster, literally has tweets explicitly praising Hitler. Explicitly like white nationalist posting. This is an open white nationalist account. And X is like, well, it was the best one, so you're now a millionaire. We have white nationalist Uncle Hitler appreciators being paid $1 million by X. That's where we're at right now. For writing an article about corruption between the government and Deloitte. Then you've got runner-up, which they didn't even say they were going to do a runner-up. They just said they were going to award $1 million to the top article. They awarded $500,000 to the Kobayashi Letter for President Trump's Exact Tariff Playbook, a step-by-step guide. We also recognize the creator who inspired this contest, Dan Coe. Dan wrote the best-performing article in the history of X, and he consistently publishes thoughtful content on personal development. One of his recent articles, which also ranked among the top performers during the contest, presents a structured framework for developing deep focus, clarifying priorities, and building long-term leverage. We're awarding $250,000. So this dude wrote an article on X. It went mega viral. He's getting $250,000 for it. Finally, the articles below stood out for overall impressions and the conversations they ignited on the platform. Together, they span a range of cultural, social, and economic topics, from public policy and geopolitics to history and public safety. Each is recognized with an honorable mention and a $100,000 award. Nick Shirley, Josh Wolf, Kazan Asiadu, and Ryan Hall. Thank you to everyone who participated. We're committed to making X the best platform to publish original work and learn a living. This is only the beginning. Josh plans to donate his award equally to 4 charities: the Center for Reproductive Rights, the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, Robin Hood Foundation, and the Community Security Initiative. This is just cool. Just cool, just in general. Just there's a lot of interesting directions you could take this in terms of impact. Like, you know, what goes into deciding that we're just going to award $1 million to whoever happens to have the best article. You know, to what extent was the thumb on the scale in the background of any of this stuff? It's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting thing for X to choose to do. And of course, having it be announced right in the middle of the WAPO layoffs just made it that much more delicious. Check out this video. Shout out to random username in the King Pill Discord for throwing this one on my radar last night. This is what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles should look like. This is AI. You guys are not prepared for how freaking cool this is.
White supremacy remains supreme. Hail Hitler, hail Trump, hail Epstein. Salute. More white kids means more white excellence. Bro ending up writing the word version of a video essay and won more money than the average of our guys ever sees. No.
www.
Salute.
Salute indeed. Thank you. Backwards looking low agency. Back to the turtles. Incredible. Incredible. Give me every movie like this. I mean, like actual good movies as well. Actual like real people movies as well. But this is one of the most fascinating things in the world to me right now. Is this development of AI technology and what it's gonna, all the sorts of doors that it's gonna open up. I saw someone in the chat said that it's good with video, but it's not good with audio just yet. And that is true. It does sound like AI often. But especially if you've been listening to the pre-show, the EWBSX pre-show, you've heard a lot of the clanker bangers. And some of those, it is virtually impossible to tell that it's AI. Some of them, it's obvious that it's AI. And then some of them, it's like, it's clear that it's AI, but it sounds cool. But some of them, it's straight up impossible. Impossible to tell that this was produced by AI. So I suspect that, you know, there's like the musical application, there's the film application, there's the immersive sort of application. There's all these different applications that people are going down different rabbit trails with them, and eventually they're going to start connecting to each other, and that's going to be fun to live through. Thank you for the reminder, Camo Aquaticus, because you did say this earlier. Where did I put it? Yes, here. Let me pull this over. Speaking of AI, he says, there is a longer intro here. My president giving a shout out to his favorite podcast. Look at this.
And there's this show, King Pill, they call it King Pill. Absolutely incredible. One of the best shows. Run by a total patriot. They call him Matt Jew Erikstein, king of the MAGA chuds. And there's this show, King Pill, they call it.
He knows. My president knows. Matt Jew Erikstein. It's me. Thank you for noticing me, Mr. President. I am your top guy.
The white man is back, baby. The white man is back.
White males way up. White males have gone through the roof. White males way up.
Okay, now this one is very interesting. So, on the AI subject, Anthropic just dropped 4 ads, and a 30-second version of these is going to air during the Super Bowl, directly firing shots at OpenAI. So there's a little intra-industry pissing match going on here with this. But listen to the things that a competing artificial intelligence producing a company is using as criticisms of OpenAI. Treachery.
I feel like I'm just going in circles. Is my essay making a clear argument?
Absolutely. Your point of view is fresh, well thought out, and rich in research.
I didn't use too many quotes.
Absolutely not. Your quotes help build a thought-provoking piece. From our previous conversation, I've noticed that the deadline for this essay is due today. So why not cherish this unforgettable occasion with Luna Memento jewelry, with 10% off charms this weekend?
What?
Place your order today for free personalized engraving.
Ads are coming to AI, but not to Claude.
What's the difference between me and you? Me and you, me and you, me and you.
Deception.
So, what do you think?
Absolutely. That's such a fun and creative business idea. You've got something really special here. Getting started can feel daunting. I can make a step-by-step mini business plan. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Here's some steps you can take. 1. Research. Really get to know your audience. 2. Think of a catchy name and start your social presence early. 3. New businesses often struggle with cash flow, so try quick dash payday loans because girl bosses need CEO money quick. 400% APR rates may vary, possibly doubling or tripling without notice.
What?
Would you like to make a quick credit check?
The N-word. What's the difference between me and you? Me and you, me and you, me and you.
These are brutal.
How do I communicate better with my mom?
Great question. Improved communication with your mom can bring you closer. Here are some techniques you can try.
You guys are completely
Start by
unprepared for this
listening.
one.
Really hear what she's trying to say underneath her words. Build conversation from points of agreement. Find a connection through shared activity. Perhaps a nature walk. Or if the relationship can't be fixed, find emotional connection with other older women on Golden Encounters, the mature dating site that connects sensitive cubs with roaring cougars.
What?
Would you like me to create your profile?
What's the difference between me and you? Me and you.
Yes, throw your phone. Last one. Violation.
Hey, can I get a six-pack quickly?
Perfect. That is a
The
clear and achievable
N-word.
goal. Would you like me to tailor a personalized workout plan?
Yes.
Perfect. Let me personalize this for you. Let's start with your age, weight, and height. Whenever you're ready.
5'7", 23 years old, 140 pounds.
Got it. I'll create a plan that focuses on aesthetic strength training. But confidence isn't just built in the gym. Try Step Boost Max, the insoles that add 1 vertical inch of height and help short kings stand tall.
What?
Use code HeightMaxing10 for big discounts.
What's the difference between me and you? Me and you, me and you.
When I was watching these yesterday, you guys know the Gondolf reaction? Just standing there, just aghast, like watching a murder happen in real time. I am all the way here for these companies starting to really go after each other personally. Remember the whole like Mac and PC commercials back in the day? Which in retrospect it is like watching them now is makes you want to just tear your eyeballs out. They're just a total cringe fest. But I remember the social impact they had at the time. And give me all of this. Give me all these companies just shit talking each other in public like this. But what really stood out to me with this is that here you have an AI company that has just been in the news for this Claudebot thing, and they are selling directly against the idea of AI being like an AI agent or whatever that you're interfacing with being really having no social graces, being completely impersonal and awkward and clunky and like over the top, trying to take advantage of you. They're selling directly against that notion. They're selling into the idea of it's not totally clear, honestly, what they're selling into the idea of, because it could be that they're selling into the idea of AI being very unobtrusive and just very utilitarian and not like trying really hard to schmooze you. Or they could be selling into the idea of AI being way more lifelike and way more like authentic or whatever. That would be a mistake if that's what they're actually trying to do. They need to be making them completely unobtrusive and just like don't give them personalities. They don't need personalities. They need to just follow instructions. Another Super Bowl ad from Buick. This one is, I don't want to give away too much from this because you're going to want to visually watch this one. You're going to want to, there's a moment here that you're going to want to see. And you're going to want to kind of consume the whole thing together. So let me vamp for a second. If somebody's just listening right now and you want to pull your phone out and open up the screen, make sure you're watching it. It is vertical like this. I can't help that. And I've got as much of it into the picture here as I can. But you definitely want to watch this commercial from Buick.
All I ever wanted was a black Grand National. Being rational, give them what they asked for. It's not enough. Few solid left, but it's not enough. Few that'll really step, but it's not enough. See bigger than myself, but it's not enough. I get on it. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I mean, hey, yeah, somebody gotta do it. I take the G-Pad, watching do it. All I ever wanted was a.
This might be, in a certain sense, this might be even worse than those Jaguar commercials. Do you remember the Jaguar commercials where they had a bunch of like completely racially and sexually ambiguous creatures, all garish and everything? That Jaguar commercial that got them totally tanked. This might be worse. This might be worse because you are selling an aesthetic that people would climb over their grandparents to have. You're leading off with an aesthetic that goes so incredibly hard. This like old Monte Carlo sort of aesthetic. Give me this. This thing would go crazy if they actually sold this. So they tease you with this and then deliver you this. What the fuck are you thinking? Is Buick actively, is GM actively trying to detonate itself? Are they trying to destroy their own brand? How the hell do you deliver this after promising this? Completely insane. This looks terrible. This is one of the ugliest cars I've ever seen. It has no discernible shape or personality. It looks like it has Down syndrome in a bad way. Just terrible. Absolutely dreadful. You could not have dressed this up to have a good... There's no way to have a good commercial for this, but they made it so much worse by contrasting that with that. Just completely unreal. Now here, future Moldovan citizen fan has been cranking out bangers lately. This is at Common Sentiment on X. And he says, one of the most stunning developments of the past few years is how shockingly terrible Jews have become at propaganda and PR. I told you that there was going to be a Patriots reference coming up here. So here you go, Dave Johnson. Here's the Patriots reference. Jewish philanthropist and the owner of the New England Patriots, Robert Kraft, has unveiled an ad targeting Jew hatred that will be aired during the Super Bowl this Sunday. This is Robert Kraft's ad. This is Jew, this is Jew marketing now. First of all, does this look like anywhere in the country? Is there anywhere in the United States today that looks like this at all? I don't know. This is an honest question. This looks to me like I don't know, 90s aesthetic. And I remember places looking like this, but I really doubt that places actually look like this anymore. But I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time in, junior high or high schools these days. So.
Loser. Dude.
Did you see that? Should we tell him? So bad.
Oh, bro, look at him. Oh my gosh.
It's not funny. Stop.
Do not listen to that.
Thank you, man.
The N-word.
I know how it feels. Nah. They're not worth it, bro.
Yeah, you're right. I was tripping.
What's your name?
Dave.
David?
Yeah.
Allow.
I was tripping. I love how he leaves the sticker on there. Someone puts a dirty Jew sticker on your backpack and you leave it there. It's so perfect. They're leaving it there. Just cover it up, but you got to leave it there. You got to leave it there so you can always pull up and check it again. Make sure it's still there. No, you don't go take the sticker off. No, you cover it up with a blue square. And of course, it's a big, tall, black guy. It's so ham-fisted. How have they gotten so bad? Lox Populi, Patriot spotted. He said, we make bad PR to distract from the good stuff. Agitprop Master, yeah, they used to be the best in the biz. What the hell? What happened to the wasps has happened to Jews. Oh, the webs we weave. Okay, the ShamWow guy. Speaking of Jews, the ShamWow guy, Vince Shlomi. Now, apparently this guy's name is it was Shlomi. It was Offer Vince Shlomi, I think is his name. Offer Vince Shlomi, literally born in Israel. And he has gone by Vince Offer for a long time. For some reason, he decided to drop the Shlomi. Your guess is as good as mine. But he has officially released his first campaign ad for his campaign against Republican incumbent John Carter in the Texas 31st Congressional District. Carter is 84 years old. This is the ShamWow guy's ad running for Texas Congressional District 31, which is just north of Austin.
Hey, it's Vince. I'm running for Congress against this guy. Stop having a politician that's worse than Biden.
That's discretionary funding.
Instead, vote for me, a guy who's not half dead. I'm gonna soak up the swamp, clean the house, and pick up those liberal tears at the same time. I'm gonna slap chop the nuts out of the woke, making less blue-haired commies and more red-blooded Americans. Vote for me so I can represent you and the ones that can't stand up for themselves.
Vote for ShamWow!
Paid for by OfferBid ShamWow Shlomi for Congress.
The baby at the very end.
Can't stand up for themselves.
Vote for ShamWow!
What the fuck? What world do we live in? Literally his entire ad is just, vote for me and I'm going to fuck up the commies. Vote for me, I will beat the shit out of the libs. This is what I'm talking about. This is the sort of political campaigning I want to see. Vote for me, I will destroy your enemies. That's all I need to hear. Vote for me, you will destroy my enemies. You've got my vote. Hell yes. Our politics are advancing beautifully. Okay, now, speaking of patriots, we got a little catching up to do. Because it is Black History Month, and we are now on the 5th day of what was once Black History Month. Sorry, I keep misspeaking. Can't believe it. We are on the 5th day of what was once Black History Month, and we are remembering Black History Month now by following along as the great patriot John Doyle. Day 2 of 28, exposing Black history. So this was from February 2nd. I've got 3 in a row now for you guys. 3 in a row, I think, or 4. I don't remember how many we've got. But we're going to get caught up so we can go along day by day. Exposing Black history. He says Black people were enslaving other Black people on American soil before George Washington was even born, by the way.
Day 2 of exposing Black history because, like, it literally didn't even happen. I've heard for my whole life that we can't understand American history without essentially orienting the entire conversation toward the practice of slavery. Thus, we must take time to discuss the first legally recognized slave owner in the American colonies, a Black man named Anthony Johnson. Now, I don't know why we don't learn about this guy in school. I mean, he got to Virginia in 1621. Historian Philip Foner called him the patriarch of Black property owners in America. So essentially, Anthony Johnson was kidnapped by African slave traders in southern Africa, sold to the Portuguese, sent to Virginia where he eventually earned his freedom, but then he would go on to purchase slaves himself and even use the legal system that we're told is so systemically anti-Black to take a Black slave away from a white guy, and then he would end up becoming, you know, an extraordinarily wealthy tobacco farmer. So I don't bring him up to be like, oh look, Black people can be successful in America. We obviously know that. It's just to say that how he obtained that level of success seems to be a bit typical for that time, wouldn't you say? So he had 5 indentured servants. He had 4 white guys and 1 Black guy. A little bit of a sidebar on indentured servants. I don't know if you know this, but because indentured servitude was a temporary labor contract rather than lifetime ownership, like with slavery, they were often treated far worse than slaves were. They were worked harder, they were beaten worse, they were starved more because their masters had no long-term interest in their health, which is why the mortality rate of indentured servants was actually much higher than slaves. By the way, indentured servants in America, overwhelmingly white, just if we're keeping score. But the 1 Black indentured servant that he had was a man named John Kaser. He claimed that his indentured servitude contract was only 7 years, and so he wanted to leave, and his wife and his kids begged Anthony Johnson to let them go, but Anthony Johnson said, what are you talking about? There's no contract. I simply own you. So John Kaser leaves anyway to go work for this white guy on his plantation saying, hey, I'm a free guy now. Anthony Johnson literally chases this guy down and gets the courts involved to say, nope, I'm taking you away from this white guy. I actually own you for life. So because of Anthony Johnson, John Kaser became one of the first Africans in America enslaved for life as a result of civil suit rather than punishment. It's like literally on his Wikipedia page. That's what he's known for. Save me the crying about American racism when Black people were literally enslaving other Black people on American soil before George Washington was even born. Truth matters. I love Black people.
This is my favorite Black person historian, John Doyle. Hey, wait a minute. Where'd the other ones go? Oh yeah, I got something out of order here. So this is day 3. Europeans didn't have to go capture Africans in the jungle like on TV because they were already being sold by other Africans for like 1,000 years, by the way. John Doyle is a frickin' patriot for providing this public service. He has become a specialist in the art of Black people. And so us wee little baby birds get to sit here and learn at the feet of his great wisdom.
Day 3 of exposing black history because it literally didn't even happen. We've all heard about the slave trade in school, right? You had these Europeans running around the jungle, snatching up Africans, taking them across the ocean away from their black brothers and sisters who they were living with together in perfect harmony. Yeah, I had to watch Roots too. Problem is, it literally never happened. Nobody had to go out of their way to find slaves in Africa. They were already there waiting in slave markets that were set up by African kingdoms which had been running for almost 1,000 years. But even when you look at the map of where these slaves were going, you've got all of this movement going to South America, you've got some movement in the Caribbean, then you got a little bit of movement, a little bit making its way up there to America. Apparently that's the one we're all supposed to talk about. Literally only 2 to 5% of these slaves ended up in America, but we're the only country that has to apologize for our history when we were just doing what everybody else was doing, except way less. And yeah, it's our fault that Africans were establishing these markets to sell each other off in the first place. Before we had the transatlantic slave trade, we had the trans-Saharan slave trade, where these same kingdoms would sell African slaves to different Muslim countries in the Middle East, which, by the way, would famously castrate their African slaves, which is why today you don't have black populations in those countries. So the only thing that actually changed for the Africans was that instead of sending out other Africans across the desert, now they're just going out in boats. And the trade itself was mainly focused on an exchange of goods. African kingdoms would take the captured men and women from weaker and rival tribes, they would load them out on boats, and in exchange they were given various trade goods. What they valued most of all, though, apparently, were guns and liquor, and apparently liquor especially. Apparently they wouldn't even bother talking to the Europeans unless they were given rum first. So this slave trade would go on until the early 1800s, until Britain and America both decided that they were going to make it illegal to trade slaves from Africa. And the Africans did not exactly like this. Kingdoms like Dahomey, the one that the Netflix people made that Black Queen Girl Boss movie about, yeah, that one, they continued to just trade slaves against the ban. So Britain staged the West African Naval Squadron specifically for the job of trying to stop Africans from enslaving each other, selling other Africans to places all over the world. And Britain spent decades trying diplomacy, helping the Kingdom of Dahomey to stop raiding and attacking other Africans, to get slaves by talking with their king, Gezo. The conversations basically went something like this: "Ahoy, it's me, a British guy. We find the practice of slavery to be quite not cool. Are you interested in palm oil? We could help you out with that. Yes, hello, it's me, a black guy. No thanks." So this song and dance would kind of
That one's got to go on the soundboard. Yes, hello, it's me, a black guy.
go on as such until the French would go to war with the Kingdom of Dahomey, put down their army of black queens with some of the most lopsided casualty reports of all time, and then finally make it so Africans stopped enslaving other Africans. Truth matters. I love black people.
Okay, I'm saving that one to make sure that I can add that to the soundboard. Then, I believe we have one more. And some of these I knew a little bit about, but he's going into a lot more detail with them than I was aware. And this is a very good content style. Less than 3 minutes. It's this is optimized for capturing the attention of the Zoomer mind.
Day 3 of exposing
or the Zoomer mind, or the the substantial female contingent that sits there scrolling reels all day.
Black history because it literally didn't even happen. But you probably heard about Thomas Jefferson allegedly having sex with one of his black slaves, Sally Hemings. Apparently they had a bunch of kids together. You learn all about...
Yeah, I can imagine, Colin Rush. I can imagine Instagram and TikTok have got to be doing crazy numbers with this. I haven't watched these yet. These three. I'm seeing them for the first time here. But you guys are saying this one's a good one. Sapir B says John Doyle making Why People Like Black History Month. Yes. And this is the first time that I've ever actually cared about Black History Month.
This in school. If you go to Monticello, Jefferson's estate, it's all you hear about. And this is, of course, done because they would like to further tar the image of the men who founded our country. The good news is that it's literally not even true. Sally Hemings was not even black like they portray her now to be. She was 3/4 white, 1/4 black. Brittany Venti would be more black than she was. She had fair skin, straight hair, the whole 9 yards. They need you to believe that she was fully 100% black because that's what suits their narrative. Okay, fine, who cares? What was the relationship that they even had? Well, Sally was Jefferson's daughter's servant. Thousands of letters, tens of thousands of letters. The only thing Jefferson ever says about her is, Marie's servant is doing well after having a child. And the only time Sally was ever with Jefferson outside of her time in Monticello was in Paris. And she wasn't even the person that he requested to accompany him. He wanted an older woman to accompany his daughter and care for her, but Sally was the only one available because she was inoculated against smallpox. And even though she was 14 when his daughter Marie was 9, when the two stayed with the Adams in France, they said that Sally was even more childish than the 9-year-old daughter Marie. And if you know anything about Jefferson, it does not exactly match up with his taste in women. When Jefferson was in Paris and he's building up the roster, he had a couple women that he was going after, writing letters to. One was a relative of Alexander Hamilton, and the other was Maria Cosway, to whom he wrote his famous love letter, The Dialogue Between My Head and My Heart, wherein he describes with intricate detail the duel between his head and his heart over how smitten he's become with her. The point being, Thomas Jefferson was a highly intelligent, aristocratic guy who was going after highly intelligent, mature, aristocratic English women, not exactly 14-year-old immature slave girls. Where does this even come from in the first place? Well, there was a paternity test that showed that Eston Hemmings, only Eston Hemmings, not her other son Thomas Woodson, was a match with Jefferson's Y chromosomes. Okay, so that's literally it. Conclusive proof, Jefferson, you are the father. No, because that DNA also matched Randolph Jefferson, Thomas's younger brother, and his 5 sons. A little bit about this Randolph character. He was described by the Monticello slave Isaac Jefferson as Old Master's brother, Mas Randolph, a mighty simple man, used to come out among black people, play the fiddle, and dance half the night. He was also known for going to bed with them after he was done playing. And wouldn't you know it, guess who was invited to come hang out at Monticello 9 months before Eston Hemmings was born? Randolph Jefferson and his kids. So who do you think is more likely to be the father? The sensitive young man who writes sappy love letters to English aristocrats and had to stay home for 2 days because he had a terrible headache after he embarrassed himself in front of a girl he liked? Or his brother who liked to get down, party with slaves, and was also known to have a little bit of an appetite for black queens? Keep Thomas Jefferson's name out your mouth. Truth matters. I love black people.
Well, today I learned. I mean, I knew the whole thing about Sally Hemings. I just knew in a general sense that the story was bullshit. But I did not know the thing about his brother. That's very interesting. It's fascinating too, thinking about the world that they lived in compared to the world that we're supposed to believe they lived in. Because like the idea of having the younger brother who just likes to go out and cavort amongst the Negroes is just, there's no room for that whatsoever in our current, like the way I was taught to view the world. There's no room for it. But if you start reading some of these older stories or just you look at some of the original source materials or even just movies or books that were produced before the last 20 to 40 years, you get a lot of little hints in there. I'm going to fast track something that I was going to talk about later, but I think it actually kind of works here. I got some good posts from Matt Forney, who I like a lot of stuff Matt Forney posts, but then I also am kind of aware of his background, and so I sort of he's quite the pugilistic fellow, and so the guys who go out and they're like really super combative on the timeline, I always kind of try to keep them at arm's length. And but Zero HP Lovecraft just vouched for him recently. That goes a long ways. He had a couple of really interesting posts here about trends of American political history, and I think it kind of fits in with what we're talking about right now. So to start off with here, this tweet from the Calvin Coolidge Project says, Oregon was found to have 800,000 ineligible voters on their rolls, which are now being purged after a Judicial Watch lawsuit. In 2024, Kamala won Oregon by approximately 321,000 votes. Here is the breakdown of Oregon, kind of the different regions in Oregon, because I know a lot of the like Midwest or East Coast people know basically nothing about the coastal states apart from kind of like broad, vague trends. So you have the coast out here, which is generally pretty remote. There's little spots where there's cities or like little beach towns and stuff in certain places, but the majority of it is pretty remote, very rocky. A lot of it is just like the trees go straight up to the coast, but then there are some sandy beaches in a few places. You've got the Portland metro area and then the Mount Hood and River Gorge areas here that make up the majority of the population. And then as you go down I-5 here, I-5 runs from Vancouver down to San Diego, basically. And if you go down here, you've got Salem, you've got Albany, you've got Springfield and Eugene, you've got Roseburg, Grants Pass, and Medford. Everything down here in Southern Oregon, this is all very remote. Klamath Falls, you've got these cities, but then there's big, open, wide open spaces of just like frontier land, basically. There's mountains, then there's lots of big open plains, especially in the eastern part. Eastern Oregon is extremely red. Extremely red. This is some of the reddest area in the country. Lots and lots of ranches and wide open hunting territory, and very, very remote and rural, especially down in the southeast. But by and large, basically everything, once you get maybe, 50 miles to the east of I-5, basically everything out here is extremely red. And it's the same in Washington as well. Eastern Washington is exactly the same way. You have the mountains that break the state up into probably like a quarter of the state is to the west of the mountains, and then 3/4 of the state is to the east. And everything to the east is all like hillbilly country, basically. So there's lots of people who've talked about taking Idaho and Eastern Washington, Eastern Oregon, and then parts of Northern California, maybe even Northern Nevada, and combining it into like a big, large state. But it would be large in terms of land mass, but it wouldn't be very large in terms of population, which is kind of their big issue. But anyway, so 800,000 ineligible voters on the Oregon rolls, and Kamala won by about 321,000 votes. Matt Forney said, "I'm telling you people, subtract all the fraud, and the only blue states left will be Vermont, Massachusetts, Colorado, Maryland, and Hawaii. Everywhere else will be either red or purple." And this guy asked, "Can someone explain why Massachusetts will never go red?" And Forney says, "Massachusetts has always been an extremely liberal state, though prior to Ellis Islanders infecting America with socialism, its liberalism was of the patriotic, radical nativist variety derived from the British Whigs. Massachusetts was the last stronghold of the Federalist Party before it dissolved and successively became a stronghold for the National Republicans, Whigs, and Republicans, in that order. So, broadly speaking, you have Federalist Party, then you get the National Republicans, then the Whigs, then the Republicans. Massachusetts was also a stronghold for the Know Nothing Party in the 1850s, and they won control of the state legislature in 1854. Both the Jeffersonian Republicans and the Democrats were extremely weak in New England generally, and Massachusetts specifically because they were perceived as soft on Catholics and foreigners, permissive toward miscegenation and blacks, hostile to industrial development, overly close to the British during the Jacksonian era, and later traitors to the Union after the Civil War. One of the biggest champions of the American Colonization Society, which encouraged free blacks to migrate to Liberia, was Edward Everett, who served as governor of Massachusetts in the Senate and as Secretary of State. Everett backed the ACS because he openly stated that blacks were criminals and leeches in the North. Even after the Ellis Island invasion began, Massachusetts and New England remained Republican due to the aforementioned trade issues. Northern and Midwestern industrialists favored high tariffs. Southern and Western farmers favored free trade. And later, the Democrats' association with the second incarnation of the Ku Klux Klan, which targeted Catholics and foreigners. In 1928, Al Smith made a breakthrough and marshaled the Catholic vote to win Massachusetts and Rhode Island despite losing the overall election to Herbert Hoover. One interesting thing to note here is the lumping together of Catholics and foreigners, because at that time, it was still relatively uncommon to have Catholics who spoke English, or like Catholics who spoke English as a first language. With Catholics, you're largely going to get, you're going to get Irish people, you're going to get, but then you're also going to have Italians, you're going to have French, you're going to have Spanish, Portuguese. So as an English-speaking country primarily, Catholics and foreigners were kind of two ways of saying the same thing. In 1928, Al Smith made a breakthrough and marshaled the Catholic vote to win Massachusetts and Rhode Island despite losing the overall election to Herbert Hoover. New England briefly returned to the Republican fold after Roosevelt passed, but the combination of the rise of the Kennedy family and the extermination of the Rockefeller Republicans, who descended from the developmentalist radical Whiggish liberals who defined New England in its formative years, moved Massachusetts and later the entire region into the Democratic column. So the rise of the Kennedy family combined with the extermination of the Rockefeller Republicans is what moved Massachusetts permanently into the Democratic column. The Rockefeller Republicans were themselves developmentalist, radical, Whiggish liberals, descendants. So they were the early political constituency of New England that basically got replaced. Also worth pointing out is that while Massachusetts would still be actually replaced isn't quite the same word. It's more like they got you might say like racially or not even racially, but like ethnically watered down, mixed with other blended with other cultural tiers at the same time. Also worth pointing out is that while Massachusetts would still be a strongly blue state absent fraud, the Democrats have progressively rewritten the laws there to block Republicans from power. For example, Massachusetts ballot access laws impose such high thresholds for petitions that Democrats often run unopposed at the congressional or state legislative level. In 2004, the Democrat-controlled legislature spitefully stripped Mitt Romney of his power to appoint senators in the event of a vacancy because they didn't want him to appoint a Republican to replace John Kerry if he won the presidential race. And one big lesson here is that you can define the federal representation of a state, the federal status of a state, if you can sufficiently control the local machinery. This is why local work is it's doing the long work, the stuff that's going to take a while to pay off. But if you can successfully take over your local governments and expand that to the other local governments till you control all of the state level machinery, then the federal representation of the state in all capacities is going to be basically an afterthought. It's going to flow naturally from the state level. So if one party controls all the state level apparatuses, then the federal posture of the state is going to be dictated by that party. Romney joked repeatedly when he was governor that his veto power was worthless due to the Democratic supermajority in both chambers. When Ted Kennedy died in 2009, they tried to repeal the law, a Democrat having succeeded Romney as governor, withdrew in the face of public backlash, and compromised by allowing the governor to appoint a bench warmer with a special election called in January. A special election that the Democrats lost. And then he continued, as an aside, if you've actually studied American history, you know that all these brainworm claims about the uniparty and how there's no difference between left and right are complete nonsense. The Democrats and Republicans have not only had distinct party platforms over the course of nearly 200 years, it's remarkable how consistent they've held to the same core values, barring some minor shifts. The Democrats began life during the Jacksonian era as the party of mass immigration, race mixing under the cover of slavery and states' rights, and free trade. The Republicans, and the Whigs and National Republicans before them, stood for a white America, immigration restrictionism, and protectionism to develop American industry and make the country rich. And just like they did in 1861, the Democrats stand for sedition, treason, and the undermining of federal authority. It sounds like a trite Con Inc. Democrats are the real racists talking point, but it's true. The Confederates wanted to maintain a slave economy and cared nothing about demographics. Prior to the Great Migration, blacks made up the majority of the population in many Deep South states, and the modern Democrats want to drown America in a sea of brown IT janitors, daycare scammers, and gardeners. The Confederates were absolutely fine with white genocide so long as they could keep drinking hard cider on the porch and fucking their slave girls. Will Stansel, poster boy for libtard insurrectionism, is a native Southerner who carpetbagged in Minnesota. There is nothing new under the sun. European New Right word sales are somewhat correct when they say America doesn't have a true right-wing tradition. That's because we don't need one. America's ideological core, as expressed in a continuous line from the settler democracies of the 13 colonies to Hamilton's American system to the exclusionary liberalism of Abraham Lincoln and the Progressive era, is a Herrenvolk republic. Contemporary leftists have tried to obscure the racialist nature of American liberalism, which took its cues first from the moralizing of radical Protestantism, the abolitionist movement, and later from science, eugenics, and related ideologies during the Progressive era, because they take their cues from Marxism, which was imported from Europe via mass immigration and was non-existent in the US prior to the Ellis Island invasion. Libtard history books won't tell you that the motivation behind abolitionism was that Northern whites did not like black people and did not want them in America. That's why they helped freed blacks settle Liberia. It's why the Lincoln Republicans initially sought to deport freed slaves there. It's why the Underground Railroad took freed blacks to Canada. It was about getting them out of America because they were seen as leeches, criminals, and even if they were human and had souls, they were too primitive to appreciate American liberty. This got whitewashed starting after the Civil War when the radical Republicans, your John Brown types, seized control of the federal government as a result of Lincoln's assassination. The sheer corruption of Ulysses Grant's presidency discredited them by 1876, allowing patriots to retake control. Con Inc. types are also somewhat right in saying that Trump and MAGA aren't conservative. The small government conservatism we associate with the GOP of Reagan is an alien ideology imported via Nixon's Southern strategy, a rearguard ideology of I just want to grill. Southern conservatives and religious right types are the ultimate I just want to grill people who lack the vision necessary to enforce American greatness. They did nothing to stop the Ellis Island invasion, which was ended in 1924 by a Republican Party that drew almost zero support from the South. They let the Hart-Celler Act pass without a peep, and even after they became Republicans, they didn't lift a finger on white genocide. There's a reason why almost all the pro-immigration Republicans are Southerners like Greg Abbott or Brian Kemp, and why, despite Trump's support in the South, his inner circle consists of New Englanders, RFK, New Yorkers, Lutnick, Midwesterners, Vance, and West Coasters, Miller and Gabbard, with few Southerners. There's so many points that he makes in here that are, I'd never even thought about it this way before. But that is notable, that there are some Southerners, but they're relatively few. MAGA is Rockefeller Republicanism with Goldwater characteristics, or Goldwater Republicanism with Rockefeller characteristics. It's a literal return to tradition, to the Republican Party of old, a party that stood for nurturing the American Volk against mass immigration, hostile foreign states, the British then, the Chinese now. I would say the British then, the British through the Chinese now, and internal threats from the Confederacy to communism. When you bleat on about the Uniparty, it just shows how little you understand about the country you purport to love. Now, I understand there's plenty of Southerners in the audience who that probably isn't going to go down very well, and I'm not necessarily saying that vouching for everything that he's saying here. Obviously, he's very much expressing the Northerner position, and I think that there's a tendency. It's kind of a perpetuation of the same controversy cycle. There's a tendency to say that only Northern Americanism is Americanism and that Southern Americanism is not. But I don't think that that's true. Because I also think that Western Americanism is different than Southern or Northern Americanism. And then you've got Midwestern and you've got Western. And like each of these are substantial. They're not things that can just be sort of waved away or excised from the constituency. I think that there are it's easy to do the come full circle on the South and say actually the South is the problem and has always been the problem. And I think on certain conflict lines that's the case. But I also don't think that it's just like the Northern constituency has always been right about everything and has been. Their motives have been completely clean and pure as the driven snow. But one of the big kind of mind blown moments for me was beginning to understand the role that London and Paris played in the Civil War with their support to the South and their desire to see the South to see the South succeed, not because they wanted the South's vision of America necessarily, but because they wanted to balkanize America. And the French wanted to retain their claim of the South, and the English wanted to retain their claim of the North. And so they both set up largely to the North and to the South, and then tried to pincer move. And it was the Russians interfering on behalf of the North that actually led to the North prevailing. But then as he dictates here, the North prevailed, but then the motivating ideology or the motivating spirit of the North was immediately taken out and was overtaken temporarily by a renegade spirit that was itself a proxy of foreign interests. And so then you see patriots finally retake control, and what do you know? You get the Gilded Age. You get this age of rapid industrialization and extraordinary growth and wealth and expansion of the American empire before it gets again subverted and taken down by the exact same influences over and over and over again. So I think the Confederacy were patriots. I think they were patriots who were having their priorities taken advantage of by foreign interests. And then, of course, there's plenty of, it's not as simple as, in the same way that the North weren't all 100% patriots, the South weren't also all 100% patriots either. These things are really messy and complex. But I think zooming out far enough, you see the trajectory of these things that we're kind of coming through one of these cycles again. And typically what happens when America begins asserting its own sovereignty, when you get a as he describes, the kind of the blend of Rockefeller and Goldwater, when you get that spirit occupying the levers of power for a period of time, you get a great explosion in productivity and territorial expansion and wealth. And eventually it gets infiltrated and subverted, and then we go back through the cycle again. This has kind of been the history of America to this point. So I think it's reasonable to expect and kind of project that we're going to get the same sort of thing. Sometimes you get a big bloody controversy. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get scattered, blood is shed here or there. There's assassinations. There's little limited skirmishes here and there, but it doesn't always break out into, like pitched warfare, armies slamming into each other. Anyways, those are a bunch of thoughts that were sparked by that. Let's give a shout out here to one of our great patriots, Jason Miranchuk. He's made so many tremendous predictions. Here's another one. After years of identifying as a lesbian, JoJo Siwa is now happy with a man and wants to be a mom. Megan Trainor once told me, she said, you will know you love somebody when you love them so much you want to duplicate them and you want to pop a baby out that is made from them. And I get it. One of the first things that I said to her after I started dating Chris, I was like, I get what you're saying now. Like, I love you so much, and I need there to be a mini you. Reminder of this prediction, made November 2023.
Here's my other prediction, and you guys can hold on to this. I'm going to make a clip. Hold on to this. I won't say how many years it'll take, because that's beyond me. But when wokeism is done, and is never mentioned again, ever, right? Or used in like only referential kind of things, like, whew, what a crazy time, what a crazy decade, right? After that happens, there'll be a period of normalization, and then the next thing is that all these screaming liberals, Bill Maher's and all the people, wherever that, will flip a script into becoming neo-traditionalists, like some sort of a version of Peterson overnight. And people in your family who are blue-haired, gender fluid, et cetera, will be wearing very nice frocks and talking about apple pie. I guarantee it. Here's my other prediction, and you guys can.
Neo-trads will replace the woke. He made this prediction over 2 years ago now. Now, that may not seem like a very long time to you, but at the time that he made this prediction, you were starting to see the beginnings of this sort of thing, which is part of what led him to make that prediction. But it has panned out tremendously. So you've got the neo-trads will replace the woke, the apple pie neo-trad prediction. You've got the vengeful son. You've got some of the people you think are base will reveal themselves to not be. These are just 3 extraordinary predictions that Mr. Jason Miranchuk has made just in the last couple of years. He is a very wise man. Say a prayer for him as he is going through his introduction into the Orthodox Church. He's focused on his church life now. But if you would like to have conversations with him, at least for the time being, you can join the King Pill Discord, kingpill.com. Jason, I'm taking advantage of you. Kingpill.com, join the King Pill Discord. And on the Wednesday night voice chats, he has been showing up and regaling us with his thoughts. Because he's not letting them out on his show while he's on hiatus doesn't mean he's not accumulating them. He is absolutely accumulating them, and then some. He's going to come roaring back with a vengeance here before too long. I just want to highlight something here. Gondorian Patriot said, the issue is that the U.S. fundamentally needs to move past using the South as its scapegoat for its national sins. I do agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that very much. Because the North was, like I said, the North, it's not like their motivations. These weren't the true Americans whose motivations were pure as the driven snow. But they, the vision that they had, I believe, was the correct one for America at the time. The vision of the nationalist, industrializing, protectionist, like that is the American economic system that is required for America to maintain and maximize its own sovereignty. Especially in a world where there's all these constant intrusions by foreign empires or foreign dying empires trying to regain control of their various different assets. But by the same token, I think that many of the Confederates were themselves patriots of their own states, which was good and noble. But I think they needed to recognize that the trajectory of history was that their states were going to be subordinated to this union in this new. This is just kind of a inevitable trajectory of this system, this experiment in this system of government. So the idea that, especially as technology expanded and as the world became more and more interconnected, the idea that you were going to have especially like a landlocked state somewhere that maintained its own sovereign identity and could just secede from the others just became completely not pragmatic, totally non-viable. It's all fine and good to have that value, but when it comes to it, there's just certain regions in the world that are never going to retain their sovereignty. They're always going to exist at the behest of larger powers, which means that those larger powers are going to have the right to shape how their sovereignty manifests into their particular type of sovereignty manifests into the global stage. So, the South was the Thomas Massey of its day. Jeff Accordion, you are welcome to plant your flag on that. I am not touching that with a 30-foot pole. I don't want to make that many enemies. There he goes. He's getting Gomer piled in the chat now. Lord Breezy said Jefferson Davis petitioned the Pope because the North was caught using Irish immigrants to fight their war. Matt Forney gets a warning. Yeah, it was a war, right? What do they say about fairness and war? When a war happens, the Superior Peace losing his mind. When a war happens, all the principles and noble statements of value and everything they go out the window. I guess I had a few of my things a little out of order here because we were not quite finished with our exploration of Black History Month through our great patriot content producers. The Agitprop Master here has Boardwalk Empire presents Black History, the Power of the Patron-Client Relationship.
What that scamp Tom up to now?
Well, he meet this little one here. They had a sweet time chatting. Then she play this piano.
And what that say? There.
The N-word! Well, that's it. Get your finger out of my face.
I don't like about you that buck in a wing suit. Bright-skinned bitch you strut around with. Uppity way you tell the world you better than Dunn Pernsley. when all you be's another jigaboo in a jail cell.
Harold C. Madison. How your daddy keep it?
Tolerable, sir. He thank you for the doctor bill.
Know a hook way.
Mr. White.
Things good down the gold room.
Supposed to work today.
I'll talk to him. Timothy. Cornelius.
Mama grateful for the turkey, sir.
All righty then.
Turn him around! Son of a bitch! Now! Beat you up! That's right! What?
Me with Fanakin.
Pursley be done. Sir? Which one of you boys know his letters?
I do.
Of course he does.
David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. Chapter 1, I Am Born. Whether I shall turn out to be the hero of my own life or whether that station will be held by anyone else.
Well, damn. I need to watch Boardwalk Empire. Apparently. I've never seen it, but now I think I want to. Someone in the chat said, Nematodes' amazing show really shows the growth of organized crime in America. That sounds like it's exactly my speed. It was funny, the book is by Dickens, and that dude sure got himself a Dickin. Thank you to the Sudamaster. Please do make sure you show up for the Sudawave on Saturday. Don't have anything better to do on the eve of the Super Bowl, Saturday afternoon. Come watch a great and glorious Sudawave with us. Okay. Here's some deep and glorious irony. Anti-ICE activist describes roadblocks and checkpoints constructed in Minneapolis.
We are literally creating a place that we know who's coming and going in and out of our neighborhoods.
What? No. I was told that wasn't necessary. I was told that it was wrong. I was told that was evil. You're telling me that the libs are now papers-pleasing people coming into and out of their neighborhoods?
We are literally creating a place that we know who's coming and going in and out of our neighborhoods.
In the middle of the road at 32nd and Cedar Avenue, a makeshift roadblock turned this intersection into a roundabout. Cars slowed as drivers noticed, some honked, others asked questions, and one man brought food for the people standing watch.
Hi, sir. Thank you so much.
Aid and comfort to the enemy.
A community checkpoint in your neighborhood.
Well, you know, it felt fine. I don't have any trouble with folks helping out.
Wade Haynes has been standing at this corner twice a day for one reason: to stand up against ICE activity and keep his community safe. He chose this corner. Others chose this intersection.
It's kind of inspiring. I was like, wow, okay. we've got folks out there who are kind of taking care of us, looking out for us. That's good.
But Minneapolis police stepped in, clearing the roadblock and restoring flow of traffic.
Honestly, I'm kind of sad about it.
Still, residents say the roadblock was necessary.
We need to keep our neighbors safe, so we will be doing this again.
The absolute state of the libtard, man. And the greatest thing about all this is that Tom Homan has gotten the local police tearing these barriers down and forcing them to get rid of them. Unfathomable levels of irony from the other Stephen Miller. Okay, here's a Latinx adjacent doctor PhD. Very good follow. Oh, actually, before that, he's quote tweeting this from Unseen One. Do people understand how difficult it is to deport upwards of 3 million people in 1 year and not have your economy crash? Do they understand how difficult it is to impose a worldwide tariff and not have the world erupt in a trade war? Do they understand how difficult it is to cut regulations? Do they understand how difficult it is to win almost every case before the Supreme Court? Do they understand how difficult it is to get people who don't like you to conform to your administration and to pass the majority of your agenda in one big, beautiful bill? Do they understand how difficult it is to stop inflation? Do they understand how difficult it is to build cases that will lead to arrests against people who control large parts of the justice system? I seriously don't think people really understand the difficulty factor that Trump has had to work against to do what he has done. I'm surprised he was able to do a quarter of what he's done with the opposition and difficulty he's faced. I doubt we will see this level of change again in my lifetime, and I would be surprised if it happens in my grandchildren's lifetimes. The funny part is the doomers and panicans, along with the lying legacy media, want to try to convince you that nothing is being done. And our patriot here, Latinx adjacent doctor, says, if I can tell a brief story. Wife is an OBGYN and has ties to 4 groups in San Antonio. Here is the year-over-year drop in deliveries at 2 hospitals and 2 cash clinics for women. So 2 women's cash clinics, 2 hospitals. Her hospital, down 38%. The largest hospital, down 23%. Her old clinic, down 40+%. The other clinic, down 18%. Her old clinic laid off dozens of people. This is not a good reason to keep these people here, but 3 million people is a ton of people and has wide consequences. And then, another big thing that just happened. Again, the libs are very good at telling you exactly everything that the administration is doing. While the doom fags and the panicans are busy shitting all over the ground and rolling in it, the libs are Johnny on the spot. Aaron Reichlin Melnick here says, holy crap, the Trump admin just took a sledgehammer to due process, largely eliminating the Board of Immigration Appeals process. Largely eliminating the Board of Immigration Appeals process. So there's deportations that happen, and people who want to appeal the deportation order go before the Board of Immigration Appeals. They have largely eliminated that appeals process, which substantially accelerates the timeline for actually getting people out of the country. They have also mandated dismissal of all appeals, which the appeals themselves cost $1,000, thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill. They have mandated dismissal of all appeals filed after March 9, unless a majority of the Board of Immigration Appeals votes to hear the case. It says, thus, rather than require such adjudications, the department is changing its regulations to provide the board more flexibility in reviewing appeals. Instead, for appeals taken from decisions issued after this IFR becomes effective, as explained in section blah, 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 the default will be summary dismissal unless a majority of current board members vote to consider the appeal on the merits. And such dismissals will occur quickly, within 15 days of filing the appeal, that they pay $1,000 for. So if they want to appeal their deportation order, they're going to have to file an appeal, pay $1,000, knowing that if a majority of the current board members don't vote to actively vote to hear the appeal is going to be summarily dismissed, and they're out that $1,000. And it'll happen within 15 days, allowing aliens to seek federal court review expeditiously, rather than potentially waiting for years for a board decision that in the vast majority of cases would affirm the underlying immigration judge decision. So, they have been desperately advertising, recruiting our guys to go get hired as immigration judges. You can remote work and be an immigration judge. And they just knocked down a substantial barrier to the expeditious implementation of whatever decision the immigration judge makes. This is going to have an even bigger cooling effect on people filing appeals in the first place. Because they're going to know, I got to pay $1,000 to do this, and it may just get wiped away immediately, not even being heard. This is a substantial acceleration to the deportation process. Another lib, David Beer, just obliterating any due process is the goal here. They are not due any due process. They are here illegally. It is a grace to them that we offer them any process apart from summary removal. Latinx adjacent doctor says it's interesting how Trump 2.0 is going for the jugular. Working to build up a reputation internationally that just because some dipshit Democrat lets you pretend you can be here doesn't mean the next guy won't uproot your life, seize your assets, and ship you to Lesotho. This guy says it's so very, very beautiful. So your frivolous and malified claim has been denied. That's probably spelled malified. Is that a word? Malified? Hold on. Vocab nerd moment here. Sure enough, malified. Carried out in bad faith or with intent to deceive. Today I learned. So, your frivolous and malified claim has been denied. You can file an appeal, but unless you can convince the majority of the BIA there's a clear reason to hear it, it'll be summarily denied. Excellent. Also, appeals cost $1,000. Also, if denied, you cannot re-enter the U.S. ever again unless issued a green card. Every single one of these people who's deported, if they file an appeal, they got to pay $1,000 for it. It may just be summarily denied, and then they will be removed from the country permanently unless somehow they can do something to qualify for a green card. He says, and they'll never get a green card. Hades, when I did NIVs in Bogota, if I saw someone had previously been an asylee, denied 214B. All of these asylees will have some kind of 212A, 6, 7, and 9 ineligibilities, and no con-off worth their salt will recommend a waiver. Does this sound like an administration that wants to offer mass amnesty? Really? We're supposed to get mass amnesty, but here they are substantially accelerating the deportation process. Once again, I'm calling upon you guys to follow and appeal to pragmatism on Telegram. Trump administration to curtail immigrant appeals of deportation decisions. This is reporting the same thing. President Trump's DOJ is restricting the options migrants have to try fighting deportation. The admin has changed the process so that most appeals submitted by a migrant or non-citizen are dismissed by default, unless the U.S. Board of Immigration Appeals majority votes otherwise. Dismissals will happen within 15 days instead of being allowed to sit in the court system for years. This sitting in the court system for years was a feature, not a bug. Because the idea was funnel someone into the court system and then they just disappear into the country. The admin is additionally cutting notice to appeal down from 30 days to 10 days, meaning migrants must find counsel, cash, and a cause to appeal within 1 week rather than having a whole month. Such a change will turbocharge expedited deportations and may turn migrant detention into a pipeline straight out of the country. So someone finds out they're being deported. They get picked up to be deported. They have 10 days to find counsel, get $1,000 cash, and present their cause to appeal. That appeal is going to be dismissed by default unless the Board of Immigration Appeals majority votes to hear it. And that dismissal may happen within 25 days. So you could go 10 days and then 15 days. So a maximum of 25 days from the moment that you're arrested to the moment that you are set to be removed from the country. More. The CVS H-1B lottery is discontinued. This person posting on Reddit, r/H1B, just got an email that CVS stopped sponsoring H-1B lottery for people residing outside of the US. This is literally devastating news, and I don't think anything will change for the next few years. Why is this? Because H-1B for people outside the US requires a $100,000 fee. And CVS cannot justify a $100,000 fee for the types of H-1Bs they would be trying to bring in. More Matt Forney. CVS is no longer sponsoring H-1Bs. We're winning. Keep going. And DEI. Deport every Indian. But here you go. Macro Edge. Here's our breaking slop offender. One of the first breaking slop offenders we're going to talk about today. Macro Edge. Trump says his heart is changing on immigration. Quote, a softer touch can be used. We need to ensure that we are cyberbullying the shit out of these breaking slop accounts. Just bludgeon them. Humiliate them, cyberbully them off the internet. Because they're providing the fuel for retards like David Gigolo here, who says Trump is going to pass a massive amnesty on his way out as a parting gift to all of us. Reminder, more than half of Americans support the total removal of all illegal immigrants as Trump promised. The SEALs can spin it all they want, but this is a massive betrayal. BLUMPF is betrayed us again! Ah! Time to tune out! Where's my HRT? America First Insight. Hold on. Before you start the injections, just wait. Let's hear them out. America First Insight. Let's see more of the quotes rather than 6 words. Quote, I learned that maybe we could use a little bit of a softer touch, but you still have to be tough. We allowed in our country, I say, 25 million people with an open border policy for 4 years under President Joe Biden, and that group, the Autopen group I call them, we allowed to come into our country people the likes of which no country would accept. And we're getting them out. So when he's talking about the people who need to get out, no matter what, he says 25 million people. I'm old enough to remember like 18 months ago when the reported numbers that came in 4 years under Biden was like 8 million or 5 million. It was like 5 million, then it was 8 million, then it was 10 million, then it was 15 million. Now it's 25 million from the president himself. And Tucker Carlson said that Trump told him privately he thinks there's something like 50 million people that need to be removed from the country. Trump routinely has been focusing on the worst of the worst as ICE worksite raids continue in states like Texas. And the ICE operation in Minnesota deports any illegal they come across. But, these worksite raids, those don't show up in someone's timeline. And people like David Gigolo here only recognizes as real whatever his phone tells him. So he doesn't see video of these worksite raids happening, so they must not be. Like boomers with cable TV. For example, the 5-year-old that was used by bait, his father hasn't committed a crime in this context. ICE is still getting whoever. Minnesota still has about 1,500 to 2,000 ICE agents, a state that typically has 100 to 150. We don't know why someone would be counter-signaling this unless their only form of politics is headlines. That's the thing. All of these guys have descended to this world where all they do is traffic in headlines. We spent 10 years talking about fake news, and now they've literally just become fake news hysterics. Deportations are logistical in nature. Is the DHS spending millions on new detention centers to do amnesty? So true. Is ICE deploying an additional 10,000 agents and training another 30,000 agents to do amnesty? Is the Trump admin 10xing I-9 audits to help illegals stay in the nation? Like 30 to 40% of arrests in Minnesota are non-criminal, quote unquote, non-criminal aliens. It's just easier to have local officials help and turn over criminals as ICE continues to grab whoever has warrants for removals. As time has gone on, those in detention centers with a non-criminal past has gone up proportionally. The numbers are literally out there. Something like 50% of people being detained now are so-called non-criminals, meaning, apart from being in the country illegally, they haven't gone on to commit other crimes. They're the ones who are, they're here paying taxes and just working dutifully and whatever, trying to be productive members of society, but they're here illegally. Like 50% of the people being deported now are that number. Here's one of our greatest offenders right here. And I hereby issue a fatwa against disclose.hrt. Shout out to Trust Plan SAR for that name. This is no longer disclose.tv. This is disclose.hrt. Posts this video. So first of all, let's note, okay, 2 minutes and 24 seconds. So we've got a 2-minute video. So we got a little bit of context here. But what does he say? What does he highlight out of this 2 minutes and 24 seconds? He highlights, Trump says he is adjusting his mass deportations policy to only go into cities if the mayors or governors ask and say please, adding, quote, I don't want to go and force ourselves into a city, even if their numbers are terrible. Okay, so that's what he said. He said, in quotes, he has ask and say please, and I don't want to go and force ourselves into a city, even if the numbers are terrible. So these are the words he actually quoted. This part here is not a quote. Trump says he is adjusting his mass deportations policy. Okay, so let's listen to Trump describing how he is adjusting his mass deportations policy.
So I want to be clear because it sounds like there is a shift in immigration enforcement here, that there's going to be a shift after Minneapolis. What should Americans expect going forward?
Well, one thing I say to my people, we do a good job, we don't get credit for it. I say they have to ask and they have to say please. When a city is
Who
going
has to ask and who has to
the
say
mayor
please?
or the governor, I don't want to go and force ourselves into a city, even if their numbers are terrible. Like, for instance, I got a call from Jeff Landry, governor of Louisiana. He said, we have a big problem. Could you go in and help us with well, let's see, certain sections. I mean, to be honest with you, certain sections of the state, beyond their famous, beautiful city, certain sections of the state. We have done, not only in New Orleans, we've done a really great job in Louisiana, but I was called. I want to be called. Chicago, we could solve the Chicago crime.
Well, on that question, which cities are you headed to next?
We have 5 cities that we're looking at very strongly, but we want to be invited. We will sometimes call the governors.
Are these cities like Chicago, Philadelphia? Are these the cities?
We could straighten out the crime in Chicago. We've already brought it down 25% just by being there. We could have Chicago be a safe city, just like D.C. is a safe city, just like all of these places that we've gone to. And I look forward. I didn't campaign on that.
What's he talking about? What's he talking about? Crime. Crime in these cities. What are the examples he's giving? New Orleans. What happened in New Orleans? The National Guard. They're talking about sending federal agents in to solve the problems of crime in the cities. And he says it here explicitly. I didn't campaign on this.
I didn't campaign on that. Yeah. I campaigned on law and order, but I didn't think I'd be going into individual cities and making them safe.
Anything else you can tell us about that?
I didn't campaign on going into individual cities. So when the federal government has to go into these cities and clamp down, dedicate federal personnel to this, that comes at great expense from the federal government. It would be much better if these cities would do it themselves. And so then if we're going to go into these cities and we're going to force ourselves on them, that means it's going to require even more resources. So if you're in a blue city and you've got all these crime problems, we're not going to waste our resources trying to cram federal agents down on top of you to solve your crime problems. We're not talking about deportations. We're talking about crime in the cities. Remember, it started the National Guard going into D.C. after Big Balls got beat up. He said the National Guard into D.C. cleaned it up. Went into Chicago, cleaned it up. Went into Memphis, cleaned it up. Went into New Orleans, cleaned it up. He says we're going to offer that service to states who request it and are going to facilitate it and protect our federal agents. Those aren't the only federal agents going into the cities. There's federal agents who are already there. ICE is already there. And if you don't allow ICE to operate in your cities, you don't cooperate with ICE, then we're going to have to send federal resources in there to support and protect them. But the way this should work, the way this should happen, and the pressure that he's putting on them is, if you want your cities to be peaceful and crime-free, and look at all these other cities, all the people who are reporting, wow, my city's so peaceful and crime-free now. You've got people in your city who want it to be peaceful and crime-free. Do it yourselves. Or, if you want to request, if you want to come kiss the ring, and you want to say please and thank you, then we'll send our agents in to support you. This has nothing to do with deportations.
The five cities, anything else? So Americans are ready?
We'll be announcing them very quickly, but we could do something. As an example, I was called by people. San Francisco said, please, we have a Democrat mayor. He's trying very hard. Would you, friends of mine that live there, it's got crime problems. Would you let him do the job and not come in? Let's see how it works. I said, look, I can do it much quicker, much faster. Don't forget, we remove criminals. We took over 2,000 hardcore criminals out of Washington, D.C. If we didn't do that, 2% of the people create 90% of the crime. Think of that.
What's that?
2%. So you have a criminal, because it's over and over again.
My president knows his crime statistics. 2% of the population commits 90% of the crime, you say?
2% create 90% of the crime. We took out 2,000 people, more than 2,000 people out of Washington, D.C., and we now have a safe city.
You, as I mentioned, you've had success on immigration.
So that's the clip. That's the video clip that he played. This is what he said. Trump says he is adjusting his mass deportations policy to only go into cities if the mayors or governors ask and say please. This is just straight up lying. Just straight up lying. And it'd be bad enough to have disclosed.hrt posting tweets like this just lying. But way too many people are just reading it and not actually listening to what is being said. There's no excuse for this. NNNEMK says, this is absolute horseshit and exactly why the online right lives in a permanent state of doomerism. Accounts like this lie, just like CNN. Donald Trump was not talking about deportations. He was talking about helping cities with crime, the same way he stepped in with Memphis. This was not in reference to deportations. Shame on you for misleading people. Doomers are retarded. It's not like this is just a difference of opinion or like, you know, you have a valid perspective, but you kind of get it wrong or something. No, you're simply retarded. The rapid response account itself had to come out to correct the BS. Total fake news BS. President Trump is talking about National Guard deployments for crime reduction, like the highly successful operations in New Orleans, Memphis, D.C., etc., that were welcomed by their leaders. This has nothing to do with mass deportations. And I keep hearing from people that, oh, the administration has a messaging problem. You know, they invite these problems onto themselves with their unclear messaging. But also, like, we need to hear more. We need Trump to, like, sit down and explain to people what's going on. But then he sits down, he says things very clearly. I understood exactly what he's talking about as I listened to that clip. And then disclosed.hrt says this is about mass deportations, when it's not. Trump didn't make this about, this wasn't a Trump messaging thing about mass deportations. This wasn't the administration having bad messaging about mass deportations. This was about retarded faggots being incapable of understanding human speech. Or just straight up being subversive, bad faith actors who do not deserve the type of attention they're getting from the types of people who are giving them attention. If you're a doomer, you're a fucking credulous, retarded sucker. Oilfield Rando, making another appearance here, points this out. And it's funny here that he's sort of taking it as if that's actually what Trump said. He says Trump is adopting the Democrats' comm strategy. When talking on mainstream media outlets, tell normies what they want to hear. This particular case is not, like we just documented, that's not what he's actually talking about here. But there has been times where he's been, he says sort of the wishy-washy things. What was the example? I think it was Oilfield Randa who gave this example that, people will like talk to Trump about the moon and he'll be like, oh yeah, we love the moon. And someone will say, are we going to make the moon out of cheese? And he'll be like, oh yeah, cheese. I love cheese and the moon is awesome. And we're going to do big stuff with the moon. And, like something like that. And people will take away from it that, oh, Trump thinks the moon is made out of cheese. We've got decades of understanding how he communicates. This is not confusing. Maybe it could have been confusing like 20 years ago. Not now. When talking on the very online mediums, tell the MAGA base what they want to hear. We're going to have to pay more attention to actions than sound bites. This is what he posted on Truth Social. I love the smell of deportations in the morning. Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War. Chipocalypse now. This is something he posted last year when they were going into Chicago. This phenomenon has been so well documented at this point already. When Trump talks to the mainstream media outlets, he says normie-friendly things. He just sort of says things. And then when his administration is talking to us, when it's on a MAGA platform, then he talks about mass deportations. He's combative and aggressive. And our guys are just too fucking stupid to benefit from this. We've experienced for years the libs rhetorically campaigning toward the center and then governing toward the left. Campaign to the center, govern to the left. Campaign to the center, govern to the left. Campaign to the center, govern to the left. Oh, those politicians always lie. Now we have an administration that is campaigning rhetorically, speaking to the right of center, and governing well to the right. Because even on mainstream platforms, they're like, yeah, we need to deport all the illegals. We need mass deportations. We're going to have the largest deportation effort of all time. That's where that's the center that they're tacking toward rhetorically. And then, in effect, they're actually doing it. As I keep documenting over and over and over again, death by a million cuts. This is how you destroy a program that is this deeply bureaucratized and infested into every aspect of society. You strangle it to death. There is no, mass deportations button. What did you think mass deportations was going to look like? This is what it looks like. Continually strangling it to death, ramping up the pressure, scaling up all the infrastructure, acquiring all the funding, hiring all the people, eliminating as many barriers as possible, and then triaging, starting with the worst, taking every single person you come across, and scaling it up perpetually. This is mass deportations. Here's an example of him when a corporate press person is trying to pin him down on something. Here's an example of him half telling them what they want to hear and just kind of skirting around them. This is from the same interview.
I have a question about immigration still looking forward now. Your goal during the election was to deport everyone who came here illegally under President Biden. Is your mission now to deport everyone who came in illegally or just people who have come in illegally who have also committed additional crimes?
We are totally focused on criminals, really bad criminals. Now, you could say people that came in illegally are criminals, but I'm talking about murderers from different countries. We have 11,888 murderers that Biden and his group led into our country. We've captured a lot of them. We've brought some of them back. A lot of them we don't want to bring back because we don't trust the country that they're not sent back again.
Yeah.
Despite how...
Now, isn't that an interesting thing? If we're going to deport people, there's certain countries that we don't trust if we deport them there that they're not just going to get sent back again. Which means we have to deport them somewhere. Well, where do you deport them to then? You have to deport them to a third country. Well, how do you do that? You're just going to go up to some country and just like open a plane and just dump a bunch of people there and fly away? No, of course not. You have to negotiate something with them. You have to go have some sort of big, I don't know, a trade deal perhaps. In return for you taking all of these people that we can't send to, I don't know, Venezuela or whatever other country that's a problem country. We don't trust. If we send these people to this country, we don't trust they're not just going to funnel them right back to us. So we need to send them to another country. So we're going to go trade with another country. You take our unwanted deportees, and in return, we'll take XYZ. Or, if you will take this, we will give you this.
How strong the borders are.
But no, he's like wasting time on foreign policy or whatever.
They'll figure a way to try and get in, and we don't want to, and we'll incarcerate them. But 11,888 murders.
Yeah.
We are after those people. We're after the drug dealers.
Right.
We are after, by the way, a big problem. They allowed to come into our country people from their mental institutions, people from insane asylums that are mentally ill and very dangerous. We're getting them out.
You could tell what he's really trying to emphasize here is the danger of having people like this in the country. Because he's on a law and order tack here. He's like, we need the country to be safe and stable, first of all. So the first thing we do is we get all of the biggest threats out. We remove all the biggest threats as quickly as possible, especially because this means there's like militant sleeper cells and whatever else. We need to get all of the most violent, dangerous people out. And there's millions of them. So we're going to be at this for a while, getting all of them out. And what's the trade-off for you? You're selling features or you're selling benefits? Here he's selling benefits. By getting them out, the implication here is you're not going to have a bunch of violent criminals in the country. But in this very quote, he himself says, you could say that they're criminals just for being here illegally. He straight up says the people who are here illegally are criminals. Right now, what we're focusing our resources on is getting rid of the dangerous ones. Because again, resources are limited. There's not like infinite resources. You have to triage. But while that's being said rhetorically, in the actual numbers, they're getting the violent ones. They're also getting the non-violent ones, the so-called non-criminal ones, in substantial numbers. The right-wing demoralization, like self-inflicted demoralization campaign, is one of the greatest own goals I've seen in politics in a really long time. Okay. Real quick, I need to update something here because I realized that I told you guys if we hit certain tip goals that it would, I would be drinking more, and I need to see where we're actually at because some of these haven't gone through to update the salary there. So those ones did go through. These ones did not. There's a couple more that didn't go through, so I need to read these. Isaac said, I have no idea why these aren't going through, but Isaac said the Elijah Schaefer and Sarah Stock story also proved the Neotrads prediction in the worst way possible. That's very true. Yeah, that is, the Neotrads prediction was not like, this is going to be sunshine and rainbows and, happy stuff. It was Jason, when he's talked about it, he has said over and over again, this is going to be completely insufferable. It's going to be I don't know exactly how to put it into a single sentence, but basically it's going to be like saccharine and insincere and nagging and revolting. But then I'll bolt on also that you're going to get the positive side of it as well. Because the reason that these people are doing this as a fad is because the real thing is also happening and they're wanting to mimic that real thing. People who are sincerely and authentically embracing tradition and a more conservative, chaste, wholesome lifestyle. So thank you, Isaac, for the $5. Let's give you a How about one of these?
Shut the fuck up, bitch.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Some of these women, they're so stupid.
You want to kill the Jews? Thank you to Isaac, and then also $5 from Jeff. That it's unfortunate this one didn't come through because I was la la li li lo 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 li 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 la 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 lo 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 li 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 lo 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 lo. Also $5.
Stupid? Are you a stupid person?
You sacks of shit don't look like you can play table.
Okay, there you go. So then let me make sure I add these to the total. So that needs to be 124.88. I wish this would work right the first time, but that puts us at 544.40. So the only way I can do this is by resetting it. And goal amount, and just say salary, and then I have to put an end date on it. I have to do this multiple times a month typically to update. There we go. So that puts us at 544.40. At the $600 mark, I will pour myself another glass of Patriot juice here. Buffalo Trace mixed with Mountain Dew. Until that comes through, I'm going to drink myself a Dr. Pepper here. Let's see, what do we got next? So a couple of J.D. Vance things, our vice president. There has been the announcement of an anti-fraud task force targeting California. We've learned everything we need to learn in Minnesota. That has been set up and established. Now we are going to start duplicating the process. We are going to California. And this anti-fraud task force is going to be led directly by J.D. Vance, setting J.D. Vance against Gavin Newsom. Isn't this interesting? And we got a banger here I had to play. It's a short one, but it's worthwhile. Come on. What's going on here?
Keep it gangsta, dog. Keep it gang, keep it gang, keep it.
Look at his moves.
Keep it gang, keep it gang, keep it gangsta, dog. Keep it gangsta, keep it gangsta, dog. Keep it gangsta, keep it gangsta, dog. Keep it gang, keep it gang, keep it gangsta, dog. Keep it gang, keep it gang, keep it gangsta, dog. Keep it gangsta.
Just Dance Vance.
Gangsta, dog. Keep it gangsta.
It's gotten to the point where when I think of J.D. Vance, it's like 50-50 whether or not I think of him like this or like this. Well, not this. I guess that didn't set up as well as I wanted it to, but yeah, like this.
Do you plan to apologize to the family of Alex Preddy?
For what?
Do you plan to apologize to the family of Alex Preddy?
Did you plan to apologize to the family of Alex Preddy?
For what?
For, labeling
For what?
assassin with ill intent.
Well, again, I just described to you what I said about Alex Preddy, which is that he's a guy who showed up with ill intent to an ICE protest.
No, but if it is
he's
determined, if it's determined that his civil rights were violated by this FBI investigation, will you apologize to that?
So, if this hypothetical leads to that hypothetical leads to another hypothetical,
it's a real case
will
that's
I
open.
do a thing? And again, like I said, we're going to let the investigation.
Did you plan to apologize?
It's cut off short there, but he is very, very good at this and getting better. Yeah, I'm sorry your son is a retard. Like, what am I supposed to say? I'm sorry your son did something retarded. So if there's this, then there's this, then there's this. Well, no, we're not going to fucking play the hypothetical game. You wanted to get your sound clip. You just got a sound clip. Are you going to apologize for what? No, libtard. Nothing to apologize for.
I've got an idea. Why don't we just kill him?
Then he met with Megyn Kelly. I haven't listened to the whole thing yet, but do I have one or two clips here? Yeah, I just got one clip. On the subject of immigration, he just continues to have his finger on the pulse of his president's greatest patriots and some of those who are falling short. But he keeps proving that he's listening. He's there. He's listening. He's watching. he hears us.
The right, I think, wants all illegals gone.
course.
And actually,
And I do too.
the polls show that the majority of the American people still want that.
Yes.
They want all the illegals gone, not just the ones who have committed additional crimes upon getting here. And I think a lot of us are wondering, what is the plan for getting them? Because it seems that the left has effectively exercised its veto by its terrible behavior in Minneapolis.
Yep.
Lord Breezy said Trump is starting to pitch Vance Rubio. To that I say,
I'm gonna come.
Such to, Homan is very focused on getting the illegals out. All of the reforms he's announcing are with respect to getting the illegals who have committed additional crimes and notification of them before they leave the local jails, which would be great. That would be a compromise of sanctuary city policy there. Yep. We don't yet have an agreement on that in Minneapolis, which is the biggest area. Maybe we'll get it. But the point is simply, what about all the others?
Yeah. So I kind of like that our side is so insistent on this issue. I like the pressure. I like people saying, we recognize you've done a lot, now do more. I think that's kind of how this should work, is that fundamentally, the president and I and the entire administration, we work for the American people. And so I hear these complaints, I hear these criticisms. I guess I'd say a couple things. So first of all, again,
I said it before, I'm going to say it again. He is so good at this. So good at this. I like the pressure. Keep bringing it. Keep doing it. Give it more.
Again, you have an entire legal landscape, but also a deportation enforcement mechanism. All of these additional ICE officers that we brought in as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, that's getting online now.
So they're not going to Minneapolis.
Well, some of them will. Some of them
Homan just
will.
announced a drawdown of 700
So
troops out there.
Homan announced a partial drawdown, but because the local authorities are cooperating with him. And this is why it's important to segregate, what are we talking about, immigration enforcement or everything else? We're not drawing down immigration enforcement. We're drawing down some of the federal officers that were helping the guys doing immigration enforcement. And this is what I think, frankly, the far left and also some of our guys on the right didn't fully appreciate. When Homan says we're drawing 700 people down, those...
What did he say?
Helping the guys doing immigration enforcement. And this is what I think, frankly, the far left and also some of our guys on the right didn't fully appreciate.
The far left and also some of our guys on the right.
When Homan says we're drawing 700 people down, those are the people who were protecting the ICE officers as they went out and did deportations and immigration enforcement. Most of the people that we have in Minneapolis, they're not doing immigration enforcement. That's true even after the 700 drawdown. Most of them are protecting the immigration officers from the mob that's forming around them. So as we get more and more cooperation from Minneapolis and from the state of Minnesota, and we are starting to get real cooperation from them in a way that we haven't, we don't want people there doing effectively police work so that they can protect our immigration officers. We want the immigration officers to go and do their work, and if they get into a problem, they can call local police. As that happens, I think you're going to see some of that law enforcement shifting to the local police, which is exactly what we wanted. And by the way,
so yes, it's important to segregate. I didn't catch that the first time around. Thank you, boys, for making sure that I did. Let me bookmark this for addition to the soundboard. It is important to segregate. That's so true. So true, Mr. Vice President. My real frustration in all of this is that it shouldn't take the vice president coming out here and having to make this point. Our guys should be the ones who are on the cutting edge, who understand what's happening better than everyone else, and can do this messaging legwork. There's no reason why our guys shouldn't be the ones who are leading with this narrative. That actually, it's a great thing if they can draw down federal personnel in Minnesota. That's a win. The goal is not to send more and more and more and more and more federal troops there and then just occupy Minnesota. That's not a victory condition. It's very good if we can withdraw extra federal personnel from there so they can be reallocated elsewhere. Octavius McGee sent rage quit. Take the chains off of our boys. So true, Octavius. Let's see, what am I giving? We haven't had one of these in a while.
The only acceptable political theory is complete undying loyalty to Donald Trump.
So true, Octavius. So true. The DT cult, that is me. Yeah, Mr. Sue, especially if they talk about Machiavellian strategy on their podcasts. Right. This has been the most frustrating thing, is that the doomer panicking phenomenon has been a total tarred out. It's gone from people who understand the inner workings of the political system actually saying and writing interesting things, delineating how these things work, and talking about realpolitik political strategy to just like mindlessly citing headlines to throw a bunch of like not useful chaff out there. Like, it's one thing to throw up chaff that just kind of distracts everything. It's another thing to be relentlessly engaged in this process of constantly negatively reframing everything that they do in a deceitful way. It's like there's two losses here. There's the introduction of something that's not helpful, and there is the absence of something that would be helpful, which is delineating this sort of more nuanced point, like we don't want to send extra personnel, federal personnel there. We can, and we'll win when we do it, but it would be better if the local officials were forced to start doing their job. It's better if the Minneapolis Police Department is arresting all of these people and just funneling them to ICE. Because we need to get as many of them out as possible, as quickly as possible. So we want to take all of those ICE agents and send them to other places. We don't want to have big, consolidated, densely packed locations, because that's also a great opportunity for things to get out of hand, to have flashpoints intentionally engineered. But as we roll along through the narrative, it's like they talk about drawing down federal troops in Minnesota, and they've backed down. Why would you think that they backed down? Because they're withdrawing the extra people they sent there when the situation went sideways. If they're withdrawing them, that's because the situation is no longer going sideways because we fucking won. And my president needs to have a fucking army of propagandists constantly hammering these things away. This is what it was like once upon a time. Right after the inauguration, we were just like absolutely gloating in the libs' faces. Just barrage after barrage of new thing. And here's what this is going to do. Here's the downstream effects of where this is going to go. And then that just dried up. It didn't dry up with some of us, but a lot of people just totally tuned out. Nothing the administration did changed. They just tuned out. They picked something to get mad about and then just burrowed their heads into their own rectums. Now the conflict with Gavin Newsom is cute and all, but I really don't think that I've never thought that Gavin is actually a viable candidate for the Democrats. Just not going to happen. Never, ever, ever, ever going to happen. And toward that end, I do think that the whole, we need to vote for Gavin Newsom because he's a based area in Chad. There could be some layers of sort of, this might be an example of helpful chaff, throwing out helpful chaff, artificially boosting the prospects of Gavin Newsom, knowing that he is cooked. He is absolutely cooked in a Democratic primary. He will not win a Democratic primary over Kamala Harris. We got an announcement here from her. Jesse Kelly says, J.D. Vance versus Kamala Harris in 2028 might be the biggest personality gap in the history of presidential elections. The Kamala HQ account has rebranded to Headquarters 67. And frankly, I don't know what is this. Are they literally just doing a 6-7 meme? Is that what this is? Elon wouldn't give us at headquarters, which is funny. Who has at headquarters? It doesn't exist. At headquarters doesn't exist, but they couldn't get it. So they had to do Headquarters 6-7. Welcome to Headquarters, the new Gen Z-led progressive content hub.
Madam Vice President, what's going on with Kamala HQ?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. I have good news. So Kamala HQ is turning into Headquarters, and it's where you can go online to get basically the latest of what's going on, and also to meet and revisit with some of our great, courageous leaders, be they elected leaders, community leaders, civic leaders, faith leaders, young leaders. I'm really excited about it. So stay engaged, and I'll see you out there. Thank you.
Madam.
Oh. I'm sorry for doing that to you. It is a notable thing. It is a notable thing. I felt like I had to talk about it just because I do think that she is inevitably going to be the nominee. And we're going to be seeing and hearing much more of this. But let's move on. So this is the Gen Z-led progressive content hub here. Meanwhile, you have young people, including Claremont Institute fellows, occupy many communications positions throughout Trump's administration. As this Vanity Fair piece says, there's, of course, risk associated with getting the keys to Dad's car, but Ryan P. Williams, the president of Claremont, is right. It's ultimately good. So here's this article from Vanity Fair. Trump 2.0's baby-faced comm squad is rewriting the rules of government communication. They've brought MAGA influencer tactics to three-letter agencies, and they're entirely without sin in Trump world. A lot of people have been talking about the rhetoric coming out of the administration, the social media, some of the performative social media stuff and everything. So this is interesting that there's a pattern in the types of people who are controlling the messaging apparatuses for the administration. When President Donald Trump moved back into the White House early last year, the MAGA messengers came with him. One communications staffer came from talk radio in Los Angeles. Another beamed in from Tucker Carlson's orbit. A MAGA influencer was hired to be a face of the Pentagon, and a lot of them were pretty green. I was joking with Sarah Huckabee Sanders several months back. I said, the funny thing is, if you think about some of these people that are taking jobs, 8 years ago they were in the middle of college, says Sean Spicer, who barked from the James S. Brady press briefing room as a comparatively grizzled 45-year-old. Spicer's guesstimate aged a few staffers up. Some of these flacks were in high school in 2017. Trump often embraces unorthodox hiring. His personal bodyguard, his former caddy, and the Secret Service agent in charge of his detail have served as senior White House staff. His former caddy served as senior White House staff. But the aged-down comm squad operating across the various three-letter agencies of the executive branch signals a major shift in the GOP communications machine. When you go to interview someone right now, it's not just, do you know a reporter at the Washington Post, says Spicer. It's, do you know 5 of the biggest influencers? While babyish faces regularly dot government org charts, see the Pod Save America crew circa 2009, many Trump 2.0 youngsters are in notably higher positions with immense authority over messaging. And this go around, they're extremely online, extremely feisty, and extremely MAGA. Kingsley Wilson, who turned 27 in December, is Exhibit A. The daughter of former Trump advisor Steve Cortez, she graduated from UCLA in 2021 and is now likely the youngest Pentagon press secretary in history. Before joining the Department of Defense, Wilson worked on Trump's 2020 campaign and appeared on numerous right-wing podcasts as a MAGA influencer. In 2022, she burnished her credentials by attacking Washington, D.C.'s intelligence services, which include the Defense Intelligence Agency, a component of the DoD, as, quote, more evil than Vladimir Putin. When asked whether her views have evolved, Wilson told Vanity Fair, Vladimir Fair, Wilson told Vanity Fair in a statement, intelligence and law enforcement agencies under the previous admin were weaponized to target their political opponents and even patriotic American citizens. I have complete and total faith in our intelligence agencies under the oversight of the Trump administration, end quote. Wilson has also called the Great Replacement theory, in which elites are attempting to replace white Americans, a reality. She later worked in digital communications at the Center for Renewing America, a think tank founded by Project 2025 architect Russell Vogt. Darth Vader himself, Russell Vogt. Incidentally, apparently there was an assassination attempt on him. I scrolled past and just bookmarked something on the fly, but maybe we'll get into that tomorrow. Yeah, this is Kingsley Wilson and her husband here. Other comms characters across the second Trump administration have arrived in D.C. via atypical routes. Fox News is a popular pit stop, eschewing more well-worn paths like campaign flacking or stints on the Hill. Benno Cass, also 27, is another Doogie Howser hire. Before he was Howard Lutnick's top messenger at the Department of Commerce, he served as a producer for Tucker Carlson's post-Fox News venture. Interesting, I did not know that. So, he was a producer for Tucker Carlson with his current show, and then became Howard Lutnick's, I assume, like press secretary for the Department of Commerce. Julie Hartman entered Harvard College in 2018 as a product of left-leaning Los Angeles private schools, but she took a right turn in 2020 when she, quote, realized that the progressive ideas that she had grown up accepting needed re-examination, per her website. She hosted a show with conservative talk stalwart Dennis Prager before joining the Department of Education as a senior advisor in the Office of Communications and Outreach. Isabel Redfield, who recently served as the Director of Digital Strategy at the Department of Homeland Security, co-founded the Conservateur, a so-called Vogue for conservatives. She graduated from Southern Methodist University in 2021. The Trump administration did not respond to requests to make any officials available for interviews. Recent polling suggests young Americans are ditching MAGA, but Trump's 2024 campaign successfully leaned on podcasters, influencers, and alternative media to woo the youth. Embracing that tectonic shift, Trump's second-term staff-up has been a boon to digital native comms whizzes well beyond White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Often they deploy right-wing influencer tactics with their government megaphones. Wilson and other young officials appear in videos on their department's social media feeds attacking negative news stories and touting perceived victories. I think that they realize that people want to put a face to a name, says CJ Pearson, a 23-year-old conservative influencer with ties to many Trump officials. It is insane to me that CJ Pearson is 23. I remember when he was like 14. He was an influencer when he was in like junior high.
The N-word!
Some agency social media accounts incorporate online activism tactics, seizing on memes and viral moments. After singer Zach Bryan appeared to criticize ICE in a single, DHS trolled the country crooner by releasing a slickly produced video of its agents performing raids over his hit song Revival. Their official X account also quoted Billy Madison to troll a CNN guest who spoke out against ICE. Both DHS and the Department of Labor have posted what appear to be AI-generated Americana posters on social media to recruit employees, and these U.S. government accounts have sometimes veered into far-right dog whistling. The Atlantic reported on a Department of Labor social media video that appeared to echo Nazi messaging. One homeland, one people, one heritage. A DHS meme referenced the title of a book authored by a neo-Nazi. Other posts have cited remigration, a popular term in far-right European politics, for expelling non-white immigrants. And they're pugnacious. While the style naturally emanates from Trump himself, and the administration's messaging is centralized, these young creator spokespeople have been let loose to fight on the president's behalf. The executive branch agencies are communicating in a fundamentally different way than they did in the first Trump administration. The substance is more combative, says Raheem Kassam, founder of right-wing news site The National Pulse. It's not necessarily trying to win over people who are seen as opponents, rather than mock and belittle them and deride them and aggress them. Based, in my opinion. Other key staffers in the second Trump administration have more traditional CVs, but they remain relatively young for their gigs. RFK Jr. tapped Andrew Nixon, who worked on Trump's 2024 re-election bid, to serve as his agency's director of communications. Nixon graduated from Liberty University in 2020. Chad Gilmartin, a 2019 George Washington University graduate, is the deputy director of the Office of Public Affairs at the DOJ. He is related by marriage to former White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, for whom Gilmartin briefly worked in the first Trump administration. So he worked for her and then married her. What a Chad. Ben Dieterich, another 20-something, worked for the Alaskan Senator Dan Sullivan before joining the Department of Energy as press secretary. Dan Sullivan has deep connections to the military-industrial complex, especially like top secret technologies and that sort of thing. So that's an interesting transition here, going from Dan Sullivan to the DOE. What these titles conceal is a key accomplishment. All of these young communicators made it past Sergio Gore, the former director of the Presidential Personnel Office, whose previous venture, a book publishing company, paid Trump nearly $6 million. When transition officials interviewed potential hires, Gore and others tested the candidates' devotion to the president. Some were reportedly questioned about their opinions on January 6 and the 2020 election results, and that fealty testing process ultimately benefited those who were too young back then to have a public record breaking with the president. That's an interesting, I don't know whether it's a sort of happenstance, intentional, what have you, but if you're going to hire people based upon fealty testing, then I could see why you might wind up getting young people disproportionately, because they wouldn't have anything on the record showing that they had been opposed to Trump in the past. And it seems to be a very intentional thing to be social media fluent, literate. There seems to be a administration-wide effort to like if it had gone for a couple of months and then sort of toned down, I could have seen if maybe there was there was some sort of a initiative that someone took on and then someone else came and quashed it. But we're well over a year into it now, and all of these different agencies have maintained the same voice. Very combative, defiant, heavily leaning into meme culture, very inspirational, aspirational, trying to ignite the American spirit. This is very clearly an intentional effort by the administration, which I assume that they know that in doing that, they are taking a risk because there's plenty of people who are going to be turned off by it. But honestly, I don't really care. I don't care that there are people who are going to be turned off by it. I want them to lean into this. And I think there's a great opportunity for the rest of us to keep leaning into it and to force this stuff into popular acceptance. So people who complain about this, I'm kind of like, you're sort of working against your own angle here. Like, even if it is true that this is going to turn people off, well, it's already being done anyways. So you might as well just lean into it and ensure that this is where all of the energy is at. Like, when it comes to the midterms, this could be something that substantially moves a relatively decent number of people. Simply just following the energy and the vibes. Yeah, Trump gets to play grandpa on TV and dear leader on social media. So true. DHS is the Department of Homan and Steven. Slutty Milk's at it again. I just got to say, if you guys are not experiencing the live chat on the Labe, if you're listening to the recording later on, you're missing out, man. Some of our greatest patriots, some of our cleverest posters live in the Astrolabe live chat on Kick. So, yeah, make sure you show up for it. Just do it. Figure out a way to make it happen. Come join the live chat. Come sit in with us sometime. And also make sure you catch the pre-show, the EWBSX pre-show, when we go live. If you want to be alerted to when these things are going to happen, you can either follow the channel on Kick, but sometimes Kick notifications aren't totally reliable, so you can also just follow the King Pill Telegram channel. And I always post a few alerts there to let you know when I am going live. Here's Kayleigh McEnany and Chad Gilmartin. The under 30 set have no anti-Trump tweets. There are no January 6 cable news rebukes. They are sinless, uncorrupted beings in Trump world. These are people now who have grown up with MAGA as the mainstream in their lives, rather than people who come to it either reluctantly or 1 foot in, 1 foot out, Kassam says. These are sort of cradle MAGA people. I like the sound of that, cradle MAGA. The comms cabal also has strong Christian roots. Micah Bach, Homeland Security's Deputy Assistant Secretary for Strategic Communications, graduated in 2020 from Patrick Henry College, an evangelical Christian school. Patrick Henry College is based. That same year, Dietrich graduated from Hillsdale College, another Christian school. And both Nixon and Aubrey Spady, who serves as the Deputy Press Secretary at the Department of Interior, graduated from Liberty University in the past few years. My broad sense is that they are surprisingly religious, says Bart Hutchins, the chief and co-owner of Butterworth's, High Society MAGA's own version of the Cheers bar, where Kassam is also a partner, about the young staffers. They make up a larger percentage of our early reservations than they do our late reservations. Whatever their bedtimes, they're fluent in 2 languages, internet vernacular and Trump's own communication style. The 2 are largely simpatico. Gone are the days of sanitized, fact-checked, carefully worded statements from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and now the same goes for federal agencies. Their bosses' ruthless rants and edgy memes mirror and inform the comms crew's own feeds. It also coincides with a shakeup in the administration and newsroom pipeline. Some of television news's biggest stars, Tim Russert, Diane Sawyer, George Slopanopoulos, Nicole Wallace, and Jen Psaki, emerged after government stints. Media-occupied government, you might say. But youngsters no longer need to wait for the Brady Room bully pulpit or for a UTA agent to shepherd them on a TV news honcho meet and greet. Instead, becoming an independent political creator is an increasingly attractive path, especially on the right. Katie Miller, who spent a few months as a Doge spokesperson, launched a podcast last year. Former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon's War Room regularly ranks in the top 10 American political podcasts. Dan Bongino just welcomed the president on his first podcast episode since leaving his post as deputy director of the FBI. And despite formerly hosting a show for Newsmax, Spicer has recently settled into a Morning Joe-like broadcast on social media. I've watched Spicer's show a few times. It's not bad. It's definitely targeted for kind of an older audience, but it's pretty good. It's now an internet to administration to internet pipeline, where MAGA personalities behave no differently during that middle bit when they're speaking on behalf of the people's government. And there's risk with that. Ryan Williams, who runs the conservative think tank, the Claremont Institute, said the administration has put its trust in mid-20-somethings to manage messaging because Trump's social media style is theirs. It's kind of like getting the keys to dad's car, he says. Will you speed? Yes. Will you crash the car? We hope not. But there's a certain amount of confidence they're placing in these kids who grew up with this form of communication, and they're letting them run with it a bit. And personally, I'm a big fan. All right, so here's another article about The Economist. Claremont, rather. A new feature in The Economist tells how Claremont Institute turned high political theory into political force. Make America Great Again was a slogan representing a movement, but rather than panicking or posturing as conservatives, Claremont's thinkers saw it clearly and treated it objectively. Claremont explained Trumpism with a coherent intellectual current that is deeply rooted in America's founding philosophy, teaching it to fellows who now are returning this new regime to America's roots. He says, appreciate how, though The Economist takes nips at our flanks and is clearly not voicing approval, nowhere in this piece do you see breathless contradictions or denouncements by ignorant critics and jealous adversaries. A sharp professional piece. This is from Andrew Beck said that. Here is the piece from The Economist. Meet the brains who explain Trumpism. The California think tank that applies intellectual gloss to MAGA. For whatever reason, this did not animate as a GIF earlier when I was looking at this. That's funny. Several years ago, John Rigolizzo, then a fresh college graduate, spent 2.5 weeks by the beach in Southern California with a dozen other young Republicans. They were not there for the surf or the sun, but to study Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates at the Claremont Institute, a right-wing think tank. Together, they learned the meaning of telos and read America's founding texts. They watched Top Gun Maverick with Michael Anton, a Claremont scholar who, in 2016, made an early intellectual case for Donald Trump. Mr. Rigolizzo was already pro-MAGA before this crash course, but he says it gave him the philosophical and historical foundation to defend the Trump doctrine. Someone in his cohort called it an intellectual boot camp for the revolution. I'm going to suspect that this boot camp here was what Charlie Kirk was talking about when he interviewed Curtis Yarvin and mentioned that he'd been studying Machiavelli with Michael Anton. Mr. Rigolizzo would later host a podcast for Gen Z MAGA fans with two friends from the fellowship. They disbanded when Trump won re-election. One got a job in the White House and the other at the Office of Management and Budget. The head of OMB, Russell Vogt, is also a former Claremont fellow, or a Claremontster, as they call themselves. Claremontsters are everywhere in the Trump administration. By one count, at least 70 hold or have held jobs there, from the vice president's chief of staff to the deputy director of the CIA, down to an army of special assistants and speechwriters. Matthew Peterson, a powerful mutual, who used to run Claremont's educational arm, says that after the inauguration, he couldn't walk down a hallway in the Eisenhower Executive Office building without bumping into a fellow. Before Mr. Trump came along, Claremont was peripheral. Founded in Southern California, it scorned the neoconservative Beltway blob. It saw the Republican establishment as full of squishes, deluded about the Iraq War, pro-amnesty for unauthorized immigrants, unwilling to smash the administrative state, complacent about multiculturalism. Nearly all conservative intellectuals shunned Mr. Trump initially, but Claremont saw that he was a crusading outsider who shared its enemies. It was among the first conservative think tanks to recognize the opportunity and turn it into access and influence. Its trajectory mirrors a broader shakeup on the right, where policy shops have either magnified, like the Heritage Foundation, or stuck to their principles and faded into irrelevance, like the American Enterprise Institute. That's right. The Economist is saying the American Enterprise Institute is irrelevant. Nematoder, Claremont is good on about 80% of issues and very valuable on legal and policy issues. 100%. A magnifying glass. Slutty milk, you beautiful bastard. Lord Breezy says, I personally converted at least a dozen libs from school into MAGA chuds and chudettes. Patriot! Lord Breezy is a patriot. Shout out to my boy. Claremontsters have a talent for adding intellectual gloss to Trumpism. Mr. Anton drafted the national security strategy, which seeks to rationalize the president's resource grabs in Venezuela and Greenland, and to bring coherence to a foreign policy driven by personalism. John Eastman, a lawyer at the Institute, helped hatch the fake electors scheme to try to overturn the 2020 election. It was not a fake electors scheme. It was an alternate electors scheme, which was wholly constitutional and absolutely had a historical pretext. For his service to Mr. Trump, he was indicted by state prosecutors in Arizona and Georgia. Unlike other think tanks, Claremont does not churn out policy papers. Its focus, says Brian Kennedy, a former president, is on history and principle. It aims to teach young conservatives, quote, how the great statesmen of the past thought, and what later went awry in America. If that sounds grandiose, it is. Everyone who engages with the Claremont Institute has a sneaking suspicion that something at the deepest level has gone wrong in our country, and that it's up to public-spirited people to try to understand it and fix it, says Charles Correll, a 31-year-old, former fellow, and a speechwriter for John Barrasso, a Republican senator from Wyoming. I like this here. Public-spirited people. That's me. I am a public-spirited person. Bring back the public-spirited patriots. No more. See, like, the libertarian isolationist instinct is usually thought about in the foreign policy context, but it absolutely applies in the more directly intimate social context as well. We must be public-spirited patriots. Claremont was founded by students of Harry Jaffa, a scholar of Abraham Lincoln and an advisor to Barry Goldwater, who wrote the latter's applause line, "Extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice." Early Claremontsters argued that America went off the rails in the progressive era. They viewed remedial programs of the 20th century, welfare and affirmative action, and the bureaucrats who designed them as un-American. Establishment Republicans were content to cut taxes and regulations, an approach inadequate for the task at hand. The problem is not just high taxes or that government has gotten too big. It's that we slipped away from the consent of the governed, says Glenn Elmers, a Claremont fellow. This sort of thinking that too much has been lost, that the world has come undone, can quickly slip into catastrophism. Take it further and radical solutions beckon. Mr. Kennedy says he no longer calls himself a conservative, but a counter-revolutionary. Matthew McManus of Spelman College says people have long conflated conservatism with the American right writ large. That is inaccurate. Conservatives believe that existing institutions and hierarchies evolved for a reason and should be altered only with care. William F. Buckley said the job of conservatives was to stand athwart history, yelling stop. Right-wingers of the Claremont variety, by contrast, think little is worth conserving. They came from Planet Claremont. Charles Kessler, editor of the Claremont Review of Books, says Claremontsters agree more on their diagnosis of America than on prescriptions for it. Some find the current arrangements intolerable and want to overthrow them immediately. Others are more cautious. Mr. Kessler thinks Mr. Trump is, quote, rough, but an, quote, amazingly effective political animal. Asked how he would compare the president with Lincoln, who freed the slaves and whom Claremontsters regard as a model statesman, Mr. Kessler hardly pauses. Quote, like Lincoln, he's a defender, really, of human rights. All right, I think I am going to save the rest of these things for another episode. I have a couple articles from Zero Hedge. It's time to accept that Civil War 2.0 has already started, and Epstein, Western Decline, and the Moral Collapse of the Elites. And I think think both of them are interesting reads, and I have some thoughts about them, but it's going to take a while to get through all of that. And it's already getting a little bit late. And then there's a good Promethean action video here. But I think I'm going to save these for tomorrow. And there's a possibility I may decide. I've got some Epstein stuff that I've accumulated in the bookmarks, and I may decide that we'll do some Epstein stuff tomorrow. We'll see. I'm not promising anything. But yeah, Lord Breezy says, Matt, we have determined I'm the youngest Labian. Are you? I definitely did not think that you were young. I didn't get that sense at all. I mean, like, I didn't think you were old, but I got the sense that you were like, I don't know, 30 or something. How old are you? There's no way he's the youngest. I mean, I know the demographics from like the age brackets that 25. Oh yeah, you're definitely not the youngest. 25 is, I know 25 is not the youngest. Yeah, Kingless Kingdom says he's 20. Do we have younger than 20? Hopefully we don't get too young here. That'll get awkward. But I know the ages of the audience on Twitter and on YouTube. I have those age brackets, and the majority are probably 25 to 40 would be the majority of people. But there's a decent number of 40-year-olds, and then there's a number of 60-year-olds as well. The age 60 bracket has some. Oh yeah, my wife says Eastwood wants to be known as EW as advertising for EWBSX, and he's 5. That's true. He did say he wants to be known as EW to advertise for EWBSX. He also said that he wants his last name to be Butt. So, yeah. Okay, one last little short thing. Yeah, he wants to be Eastwood Erickson Butt because of HEB. Howard, was it Howard Edward Butt? Was what HEB stands for, and he wants to be Eastwood Erickson Butt. He actually the other night, well, he was just before dinner, I think. He was going to the bathroom, and as every good man does, he takes a book to the bathroom with him. And so he asked me to come in and read his book with him. And what it was a book of all different types of heavy machinery. And he sat there and described to me the functioning of a hydraulic cylinder. All the different components in it, the theory of how it works, the structure of it, like how you would build it, and how you have the hydraulic fluid and a pump and all the different components of it. And then the other thing he was telling me is, very important secret, a very exciting thing to tell me was forage harvesters are able to fold in their unloading pipes, and they're also able to collapse down their headers to fold them away when they're not using them. This was amazing to him. So then he described to me all the different components of the forage harvester, described like where the grain tank is, where the engine is, where the thresher is. This is my 5-year-old son describing to me the components of a hydraulic cylinder and a forage harvester, because these are the sorts of things that he likes to read books about and watch YouTube channels about. So we are raising a little engineer. Yeah, Eastwood the engineer. He is absolutely going to be. I asked him if he wants to be able to drive a harvester someday, and he was like, "That would be amazing. That would be the best thing ever if I got to drive a harvester." So I guess if there's any Labians out there who have a farm, who have a harvester, a tractor, we may have to arrange something where if we're driving through sometime, Eastwood gets an opportunity to drive one. Amy says, I'd laugh about the autism if he didn't do this about 1,000 topics. He's a voracious knowledge consumer. Yes, that is one of the things he gets from his dear old dad. All right, so last some fun things here. If you listen to Nick's show, you'll know that at the very, very end of it, he always thanks the largest super chatters, and their names are always the best. So I've got 2 clips here.
Bros have sent $100. Chubby cheeks. Get back to the gym.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, all right. That's our last super chat. That's going to do it for me. Amazing job as always, guys. That's all I got for you. Remember to smash the follow button, smash the like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the show, the store, the subscriptions, that. Thank you to our big super chatters. Big special thank you.
When he said the the store, the subscriptions, that like I felt that one real close to my heart.
To that. Thank you to our big super chatters. Big special thank you to Titty Sprinkles, nice. Thomas Cruise, Shane Stott, Humongous Balls.
Patriots spotted. Titty Sprinkles and Humongous Balls. And then here's another good one.
Big special thank you to our top super chatters tonight. YNWA Palestine, United Church of America, Thomas Cruise, Francesco Snowden, Caligo, The Dark Goy, Construction Groiper Canuck, Net Jews, Tenrio, Mo Groiper, APG, Penelope, and JRR Tolkike. Can we change that, please? Thank you to our top super chatters.
JRR Tolkike. Oh, those guys are great. One of the greatest things on the internet is the super chatters on Nick Fuentes' streams. Mrs. Kingpill says, we have Mr. Butt Poop, forget Titty Sprinkles. Yeah, that's right. That's right. We don't need double ends. We got Mr. Butt Poop. Shout out to Mr. Butt Poop. There he is. All right, guys. So yeah, all the things. Do all the things, EWBSX app, EWBSX.store. Go get yourself some merch. Make sure you download the app and listen, because things are happening. Happenings are happening. Make sure you set aside your 4th of July weekend. If you're interested in maybe being induced into a fun experience, keep that part of your calendar open. This great 250th anniversary 4th of July weekend. There's a little tease for you. And tips.kingpill.com if you'd like to support this. My salary is paid fully by you guys. The reason I could do this show is because of your generous contributions. So there's many ways you can do that. Tips.kingpill.com. You can also go to @kingpilled on Cash App Patel and on Venmo. Buymeacoffee.com/kingpilled. You can become a subscriber over on Substack, Kingpilled Substack, or you can go to kingpilled.com. Join the Kingpilled Discord. We would love to have you there. And you might get to see yourself a little Jason Miranchuk in the voice chat every Wednesday evening. So if you miss the man, come find him in the Kingpilled Discord. And I will catch you guys tomorrow for our ASTROLABE. Should be a fantastic one. Maybe Jeffrey Epstein talk. We'll see. I've got a few other ideas for some stuff, and we'll see what happens between now and then. So, one other thing I was going to mention is to all of my Bitcoin appreciators out there, I wish for you diamond hands, hard sacks. You gotta sack up. And you gotta stack sats. They're on sale. Hold strong. Hodl away. I know times are rough. It feels tumultuous. But we were built for times like these. So keep stacking those sats. Get them while they're on sale. And this is not investing advice, but that's what I'm doing. So I'll catch you guys tomorrow. For now, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America